G'day guys and welcome, my name is Michael and I am the Dead Aussie Gamer and welcome to this very special World Anvil presenting Christmas Tale, the Great Toy Caper. Joining me is a cast of very fantastic and very festive people who are going to embark on a Christmas adventure for all ages. As you can probably tell, they are playing rather unusual types of characters, but before we get into who they're playing, or more specifically what they're playing, let's find out about these awesome people first. Starting, of course, from our top deck, we have joining us from... actually, where are you today, Phil?
I'm coming from sunny Minnesota, actually, right now. Yeah. I currently live in Minneapolis as an opera singer and a role player. And yeah, I'm currently working on La Boheme with Theater La Di Da. So if you're in the area in early spring, come check us out.
Fantastic, fantastic. And of course, on the other side of our top deck, joining us is Dave from Nerdarchy. G'day, Dave.
Hey, Michael, thanks for having me on, Dead Aussie Gamer. I'm Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. And you can find us on the webs, just search Nerdarchy.
Awesome, fantastic. And of course, on our lower deck, decking the halls as it were, is of course also Ted, also from Nerdarchy, in a very festive hat. I love the fact that you've taken that extra effort. By the way, I'm letting you know, very appreciated, man.
It's all about the theme and getting into the spirit. So yep, gotta do the thing. As Dave says, it's Nerdarchy. If you just search for us, you'll find us, whether it's social media, YouTube, the website.
Fantastic. All right. And of course, joining us from the realm of the Nerdsmiths is none other than Angela. G'day, Angela. How are you doing?
Hi, Michael. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I just said I'm from Nerdsmith. You can find us at nerdsmith.org. I'm a creator and a role player and a general goof.
Fantastic.
I wore as close as I could to candy cane, by the way.
I like the candy cane. I was going to say, like, it's definitely very, very much, it's like almost the camo gear for this show. So, so without any further ado, let's get started into this winter wonderland adventure. And of course, what winter Christmas adventure doesn't start with a good old-fashioned poem? In the realm of Alestria, among frostbitten pine, the people of Icemoor spend most of their time toiling and working just to make ends meet. But once every year, they kick up their feet. With an abundance of feasting, the town starts to sing as the festival of Yule goes into full swing. For this one night a year, with a sleigh full of toys, the Yule King pays visits to good girls and boys. The king is a giant, some happen to say, with enormous red dragons that pull his mighty sleigh. But as we begin on this cold winter's night, with Yule Day approaching, something just isn't right. An old and worn wagon hobbles with its fresh cargo taken, and a small burlap sack where our heroes awaken. It is here we find our characters slowly blinking among the darkness of the interior of a burlap sack. The first to awaken is someone who has soft, furry hands that grasp almost too tightly onto a large, swirled lollipop.
Where are we? This isn't where we were before. Hey, gin? Pops? Patches?
As this very soft and plushy hand begins to poke and prod around in the darkness, the next to awaken is, of course, a crumbling cookie cleric whose beady, frosting eyes sort of blink a few moments before adjusting to the darkness and seeing a large pink teddy bear.
Oh, this is not okay. Oh, this is not okay. Ted?
Yeah,
What? Where are we?
in the dark.
Great. Perfect.
secretly awakened but still remaining relatively unmoving. A patchwork doll with stitches running between each of their very supple and lithe joints slowly adjusts to see the darkness, noticing both Jin and Teddy, as well as a all-too-familiar box that seems to be tightly wound.
Hey, what's that? So, Patches, begins looking around, his patchwork eyes, back and forth, trying to take in as much of the surrounding as he can. Do we know where we last were and what was supposed to be happening?
The magic that resides within you, animating your bodies and flesh, gives you a certain understanding of some of the worldly knowledge that you should have. You know, for example, that you should be in a big velvety sleigh with a silk pouch caressing you as you are being shipped across the world to very, very happy young girls and boys. But that's not what you're in. You're in kind of this more scratchy thing that's probably used to maybe at one point or another house fish. Definitely unusual, as, you definitely shouldn't be there. The box, however, you do recall, contains a rather interesting little surprise should the little crank on one side of it be turned a few times.
Oh no. So Teddy, can you help me? And Jin will sort of scramble over to the box.
Why, of course.
I don't have the grip strength.
All right.
With a few mighty heaves, there's a click and a clatter as suddenly, quang, out pops a small wizard.
Hello, kids. Oh, we're still in a bag. Oh, I see we were needed to coach too.
That's the wrong bag. We're supposed to.
I don't think we're in the right spot.
Well,
Something must have gotten all screwed.
Here, let me use your box. Let me use your box, and I start trying to climb off the box.
No. If you use my box, then I won't have
the
a
lid
box.
begins to slowly close as Teddy sort of scrambles up, not heeding the words of Pops. Sort of almost forcing him back into the box that he previously had. The spring, however, as tightly wound and fresh as it is, manages to sustain Ted as you reach what appears to be the roof or the top of this large sack. You see that the top has been sort of tied off, but not like knotted or anything like that. So it's relatively easy for you to sort of pull and pry yourself to open the top of the bag.
Easy there, Teddy.
So I'm going to do that and try and force it apart and let some light in and see what's out there.
Does anybody else want to go? I don't think I want to hold him on my shoulders anymore.
Okay.
Are you asking if you want us to climb up too?
No, not two. No. One person, please.
That's a great idea. Just climb up, Pops, and then you can climb over me, and we can all get out.
Okay. Well, fine.
Patches nimbly, scurries up, Pops, and then Ted, and he, peeking out.
Definitely with a lot more grace, Patches begins to make his way upwards. He sort of avoids, sort of putting any appendages or feet on Pops' head as he climbs upwards along the burlap sack and towards where Teddy is. Jin, do you go as well?
I do. On my way up, though, I kind of peek into the box and look at Pops. I'm terribly sorry about this. I'm sorry.
He's very modest.
I'm sorry.
That's for me, not you.
All right.
As Jen is climbing over me to get out, I start sniffing and stuff. Is that real gingerbread?
Yeah.
Do I smell gingerbread? That's smells sweet.
That is for the kids. That is not for you.
You also pick up you detect the delightful sort of a sprinkle of cinnamon as well. As your heads pop up and into the light, surrounding you is a vast winter wonderland covered in snow that falls almost like tiny pearls around you, covering the entire surface. The carriage, however, looks a bit bad. The carriage you are on is being pulled by what appears to be a series of patchwork, broken wooden horses that are worn and torn and very, very poorly constructed. One of the horses has 2 heads, one of them has 3 legs. It's not great. Driving this particular wagon appears to be 2 very short figures, dressed in bright red, with long, pointed white beards, and large, pointy red hats that fall behind their heads. You hear them talking and bickering. "I can't believe they send us here. Every year, same thing. Oh, go see the Yule King, they say. Go steal something, they say. What does he mean, steal something? I don't know, but stop your whinging. I'm sick and tired of hearing you gripe and groan about every little thing. Oh, come on, look. Last time, he wanted us to go get some of his socks. Have you ever tried to find a frost giant's socks? It's impossible. Half the time, I think it's a bedsheet. It's not a bedsheet, and it wasn't that bad. Look, you've got to admit, when someone's dirty socks smells like cookies, then you're perfectly fine. Yeah, I still smell those cookies. Well, I don't know what he wants with all these things. I mean, he doesn't even play with any toys. You know what he's getting them for. He wants to take the Yule magic from the last things of Christmas. The snow, the toys, the cakes. Who knows what he wants to do with them? All we know is Cranbolg will get his Christmas this year.
So, are we, like, itty-bitty, teeny-tiny in comparison to size on these things?
You are itty-bitty, teeny-tiny, teeny-weeny tiny toys. The toys themselves are about, you're a little bit larger than you would imagine a standard ragdoll to be. Jin is probably the smallest of you, being roughly about half the height of anyone else. And maybe Pops as well, if you don't include the spring and the box. Teddy is definitely the largest of them. Him, of course, being like kind of almost the size of a small cat, like, you know.
And these are like full-size people?
They're not. For references, these particular individuals are about the size of a halfling, a gnome, or more specifically, as some of you may know, redcaps.
What's all that racket out there? What's going on, Patches?
Be quiet. Be quiet.
So we were stolen, and they want to take our magic.
What? I don't have any magic.
Are we?
I have magic, and Jin has magic. They can't have their magic.
As stereotypical as it sounds, we all have magic within us. But I think the best way to deal with this is to hide.
Is it the magic of love?
You watch as Patches slunks back into his box. There's a little clasp as the thing resets.
Pops goes.
I'm gonna climb out of the bag.
All right. As you climb out of the bag, do you do so quietly or do you just do so brazenly?
Brazenly.
Very well. Teddy sort of opens the bag and leaps out onto the back of the carriage. At this point, one of the red caps sort of turned and says,
when he begins like pushing his way through, can I like just slump down and kind of position myself behind one of these guys?
All right, we'll make 2 stealth checks in order to do this. The first is as Teddy pushes himself outwards and stands in front of behind/in front of these 2 redcaps. The redcaps turn their heads very suddenly, mostly surprised to see a teddy bear. Patches, your first stealth check is to move into the shadow of Teddy so that you are not noticed.
So that's a dirty 20.
A dirty 20? Easy. Without any trouble whatsoever. Teddy's rather festive appearance provides you ample cover. Your second one is, as they turn to each other, Gregory, there seems to be a problem with the cargo. I see that.
Yeah, there's a problem, all right. You can't have Pops' magic or Jin's magic, because I'm going to whack you with my lollipop. Where I come from, lollipops lick you. You don't lick them. Did I die?
sort of stop and then look at each other with their mouths agape. This is when I want Patch's second stealth roll, as they're looking at each other, kind of. Are we dead? Like, is that did we die? And is this just some sort of weird purgatory?
26.
26, damn! All right, yeah. With little to no effort and a backflip thrown to boot, you watch as Patches flips forward and over the side of the carriage. He uses one of his hands to sort of clasp onto the side of the wooden wagon, and you can easily make your way by, sort of, what do you call it when you walk on a wall, like, sort of hand over hand?
Sidle?
No.
Sidle, that's it. You sidle over to the driver's seat on the front of the wagon. FYI, the wagon has not stopped. It has slowed, but is still traveling at a reasonable pace along the wintry road. During this time, Jin, you are still in the bag along with Pops. What are you doing?
Jin's watching Teddy go very ill-advised, but kind of like, yeah, just get him. And Jin will, Pops, do you need a view or what? I don't think I can help, but this stuff's happening.
I've started to peek out again, and now in my little mitt is a tiny, what looks like just basically like I snapped off a pine needle, and that is essentially my little wand right now. Well, do you think you can make it to the top of the bag? I mean, I could give you a boost, a little bounce. I think I'll be able to make it too, but I fear we will tumble out and distract them. But maybe it's if I go first, then you can't get out.
Well,
As Pops begins to deliberate, as the stress begins to slowly build, his spring begins to wind and coil and twist, and suddenly you hear this click. And with this click, the lid flings forward. Jin, you are on top of it. I need a reflex save from you.
Okay.
Oh,
That was a nat 20.
Nice. Despite the velocity you are now traveling, you land rather gracefully on the back of the wagon as Pops' spring explodes forward, launching not only you, but him as well, out of the bag and tumbling forward. In the confusion, Teddy, you at the ready, that felt like that rhymed unnecessarily. Leap into action as we roll initiative. Now, Teddy and Patches, you do have a surprise round on these two confused Redcap. Pops and Jin, sadly, you do not. But let's find out what happens. As for rolling, by the way, we are going to be doing our own rolling dice. Does anyone not have dice? I forgot to ask this at the start. You're all good? Fantastic. Who am I talking to? All right, let's do this. So what do we get for initiatives, guys?
I got a 12.
Sadly, an 8.
Ooh.
Okay.
A big ol' 5.
All right.
I got a 16.
Ooh.
12, 8, 5, 16. All right. So, with a 12 on the surprise round, Teddy, you are up first. The two of them suddenly jump with a start as the Jack-in-a-Box suddenly goes off. What do you wish to do?
I will rage, and then I will try and shove one of them off of the cart.
Leaping forward, your fur starts to sort of take on a more prickly appearance as you leap forward. What's your attack?
Well, that is an 11 on my athletics check.
You do have advantage because they are not expecting the teddy bear to leap up and smack them.
Oh no, that's including advantage. It's an opposed roll from them.
That is a 12 total from the one who was getting pushed. As Teddy sort of leaps forward and sort of basically presses up against the chest of one of these red caps, he sort of leans backwards, and that's when you notice that the front of the carriage in front of the driver's seat has a railing that he seems to have leant on in order to support his body weight. You are now pretty much on that sort of tiny stoop between the back and the driver's seat, standing there as they suddenly go, "Oh! What
You're a lot stronger than you look!"
Enough talk. We just need the magic from them to squeeze out like juice. I'm sure they won't mind a few stab wounds in them. You can see one of them is now sort of going for a knife in his boot. Patches, no one's noticed you as well. You are on the side of the cart that has the one that Teddy sort of pressed up against the rail.
So I want to. I'm assuming we're aware of our equipment.
You are very aware of your equipment.
So I pull out my sewing needle, and I get close enough, and as I attempt to stab into this guy, say stealing's not nice. It's a 16 to hit.
16 will absolutely hit as you swing yourself onto the driver's seat. Now, because Teddy had pushed the red cap, he isn't fully seated on the chair. And where you land, you can see up in front of you a large red derriere. You thrust upwards with your needle as hard as you can and pierce his posterior. How much damage does he take?
If I get sneak attack, that's 14.
14. Wow, okay, yeah, he does not like that, not one little bit. Okay, so with 14 damage, he suddenly shrieks out, "Oh! Something bit me!" Alright, we're now at the top of the initiative. Pops, you are surprisingly agile as you've suddenly been thrust out of the bag.
Bye. So I'm on the cart now. I'm not inside the bag anymore.
That's correct. The bag is now toppled onto its side and is flat and empty. You are now in the back wagon part. You can see Teddy quite clearly standing on that stoopy thing, and then the two red caps in front of them. You've got no sight of Patches, and Jin is directly in front of you, on her feet.
Okay. And have they noticed me?
No, they're a bit preoccupied by the teddy bear assault and the pincushion seat that they now have.
Okay. I think I want to try to distract the weird horse machinations, and try to pull them off to stop the wagon.
All right. So do you wish to go for the reins?
I'm thinking can I use minor illusion to try to spook them or something?
To describe your illusion for me. What would you like to conjure?
I would like to conjure a squadron of carrots with wings, like little wooden toy planes, but they just buzz around and kind of are annoying them.
Very well. All of a sudden, in the air above the wagon, you hear a noise suddenly permeate around. As flying in a perfect V, swooping past the toy horses, is a squadron of carrots that appear to have these tiny little plane wings with these itty bitty propellers. As they swoop past the horses, some of them instinctively attempt to dodge and avoid it. They do so, and now leave the kind of dirty little road that you've been traveling on. It's a little bit more dangerous now that there is some undergrowth and shrubs, and with the two red caps busy, it is only a matter of time before the cart is out of control. Next up is Teddy.
All right, I will continue my grapple, keep my shoving match going. That is much better. A 19 athletics check.
Ooh, 19? Oh yeah, you shoved this dude. Again, despite your surprisingly soft and cuddly exterior, you thrust with a mighty force and push him not only into the rail, but now he sort of topples over it. He does not know what hit him as suddenly the wagon...
So long, sucker! And not the good kind either.
Dustin!
And I pull my axe and lick it.
You pull out your lollipop and you lick it. It's delicious. It actually tastes like salted caramel. As you do so, you hear this voice coming from the other red cap. Dustin! I'm okay! As he's left behind in the snow. He goes, "Oh, you should not have done that." And as he pulls his knife, he tries to stab into the plushy barbarian. He gets a 15 to try and hit you.
I have an AC of 16.
Oh! As he takes out the knife and thrusts it downwards, raising up a shielded hand, the blade glances off what appears to be kind of this makeshift, like sort of bottle cap. It sort of just hits off to the side. He looks confused at the battle prowess of a teddy bear. It's these rolls. Jin, you're up next. You see that Teddy seems to have the upper hand here at present.
Wonderful. Jin is going to swing her. I hadn't really established what her holy symbol was, but I'll say it's the club she's carrying, and will cast a spiritual weapon right next to the red cap, and it's gonna look like this like candy cane quarterstaff. Or no, it's not. It's a giant spatula. That's what it is.
Giant spatula. Very well.
Yes, and she's gonna try to smack it with that initial spell casting with the spatula.
Very nice. You of course draw out your gingerbread club. For those of you in the UK, there's actually a type of biscuit that you can get in a little blue tin. That's like this very thin bit of like shortbread biscuit with sugar all atop it. That is more or less what your little club is made of. And as you sort of gesture forward, you watch as coalescing in the air with the color of your magic, which is what color?
It's the color of flame.
Oh,
like a baking oven.
Yeah, oh, it's like got this radiant orangey yellowy heat coming off it as this sizzling spatula appears in the air and just thwap tries to smack the head of this poor red cap.
It's going to hit with it's going to attempt to hit with 8, 13.
13? Oh, this red cap, unlike his brethren, is a lot more savvy in the ways of battle. And as the spatula swings, he ducks. You watch as the spatula flies between his hat and his head. He's got a large bald spot right there, like wispy hair, like on either side of it. As he stops, he grabs out. Reaches up and grabs his red hat and thrusts it down onto his head. He seems really protective of it as he grabs hold of it.
Gotcha. And then with my action, since that was a bonus, Jin sort of winces at missing with the spiritual weapon and then shouts out to her 3 companions, "Fight, my friends, with the blessings of the great baker!" And we'll cast Bless on everyone.
Yeah!
So I'm going to hold concentration, and you guys can add a d4 to a saving throw or an attack roll on your turn.
Oh, awesome.
Very nice. All right.
Whenever
Patches.
you make one of those. Whenever you do.
Yeah.
Not just one. Go for it.
So, is this guy unaware of me?
Give me a moment. If you were to take 10, what would your stealth be?
17.
17? I'm going to say that he is aware of you currently.
Okay. All right. But he is still he is engaged with the barbarian, right?
That is correct.
All right. So I will move in and stab at thee.
Very well.
That is a 16.
That'll hit. As you move across the driver's seat with needle in hand, you thrust your pointed edge towards his kneecap.
That is 18 points of damage.
With 18 points of damage, he already had like kind of arthritis in that knee, so he's like, what manner of sorcery is this? As we then go to Pops.
How far am I away from the red cap on the wagon?
You're about 5 foot away. That is to say, there is a 5 foot distance between your current position and the red cap.
Okay. Can I use my move and then my wooden toy bonus action move to do kind of like a spring build-up and then try to land on top of his head, like specifically the bald spot as the target?
Sure. All right. Let's make an athletics check, please. I will give you a advantage on this roll as you have expended quite a bit of movement for it. As you basically, as Pops sort of goes back into the into his box, the lid slams down. You hear this dun 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 dun.
Howdy ho!
And what'd you get for your athletics?
I got a 17.
With a 17, bullseye! You land pretty much squashing the hat and hitting his head. He takes 1d4 points of damage just from you landing on him, because you are made of wood.
So as I'm coming down, I'm going to then put my hand on his bald spot, and I'm going to cast Shocking Grasp.
If you must.
Shocking scalp.
All right, please make your attack action.
Alrighty, gladly. Oh no, 10.
With a 10, sadly, you forgot to account for the fact that he's wearing his hat again, which he had grabbed and placed off. So while you did hit the bald spot square on, he is still wearing his cap, and when you touch him, sadly, you catch more cap than you do red cap. Yeah, I'm not going to say that 10 times fast. All right. After Pops, Teddy, the last of your quarry stands before you, knife at the ready.
I will go reckless and stay away from my friends. And ooh, that's a 20. That's a 20.
Solid explosion. What are you doing? Are you pushing him as well, or are you lollipopping?
No, I am lollipopping him.
Lollipopping him.
Oh, that's such a terrible sounding euphemism.
That's 18 points of damage as I smack him with the.
Damn. All right. As you smack him on top of the
20 points. 20 points. It's 20. I forgot the rage damage.
Ah, yes, of course. How can we forget rage damage? So, as the lollipop smacks into his face, you watch as a tooth basically flies out of his mouth. His eyes begin to roll as his whole body begins to sway and stagger. He sort of looks up and he says, "Oh, would you look at that? Sugar plum fairies. I'm gonna get you." And he falls unconscious as he lands off the side of the wagon. Again, landing in the snow.
Does that mean I fall with him?
No. Oh, sure, let's find out. Aha, I shouldn't have said anything. All right, make a reflex save as you feel the red cap start listing to one side.
Okay.
Remember, you're blessed.
Oh, yes.
Yes, add a D4.
A perfect time for blessing. Oh, I needed it too. That's not gonna be good. That's an 8 with everything, including the bless.
Very well.
Bless
you begin to
4,
fall off
roll
the
was a 2.
wagon. I feel like there's a thing there, but, let's leave it. So as you fall off the wagon, Jin and Patches. Actually, no, Patches, you would be able to. Jin, you're still in the back seat. So Patches, you can see Pop slowly falling off to one edge. Do you react to this in any way?
I would like to try and see if I could, catch him or do something to help him back in.
All right. You rush forward, and can you please make me a dexterity saving throw, please?
I will gladly do so. That is a 22.
With a 22, you manage to make it just in time. You reach out and grab onto Pop's hands. You basically watch as you sort of grab onto this clenched fist. His box sort of swinging very low to the ground, hanging from the now fully extended spring, bouncing back and forth.
Please put me back on the cart, please, as fast as you can.
Jin, what you notice coming up ahead are a series of large rocks and trees that seem to be obstructing the horses. Now, they seem to be very preoccupied with this battalion of flying carrots, and have not seemed to have noticed it, nor have the instruction to slow down.
Okay. Can it be a? They count as a creature. Jin would like to try to command one of the horses to slow down.
You attempt to command one of the horses. As you speak to them, what do you say?
Slow down, and stop.
As you say this,
simple, very direct.
As you say this, alas, these wooden horses do not seem to heed. As there is a sudden and very abrupt crash. Everything suddenly topples to one side. Pops, you sort of spring backwards as this impact happens, and Patches, you kind of instinctively go along for the ride as you tumble forward. Teddy, you can see Jin getting launched basically towards you. Can I get a dexterity saving throw from you, please?
From Teddy?
From Teddy.
Would this fall under danger sense by chance?
Yes, I will allow it for danger sense.
You can see the gingerbread cleric.
Lots of danger sense.
That's an 18.
An 18. With an 18, the gingerbread cleric collides with the soft and plushy body of the barbarian as you are thrown and cast to one side. Thankfully, because you have all supported each other successfully, no one is actually severely injured, but the wagon lies in disrepair. Now, looking at the wreckage, you can see basically a small little satchel that you believe may have belonged to the Redcap, along with a what appears to be a small, like, cylindrical container of some kind that just lie in the snow next to you.
Looking around at the wreckage, I kind of put my big fluffy hands on my hips. Oh, wherever we're going, I guess we're going to be walking now.
I can't help but think part of that was my fault.
I have to agree.
Let's blame the Redcaps that took us in the first place. Then I think we could settle on that, maybe.
Yeah, I agree, yes.
They were naughty. It's not nice to steal.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Michael,
I'm going to head over to the pouch.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I'm going to head over to the pouch.
Yep.
The little satchel you said that they had.
All right. Opening the pouch, you find the following. You find about a day's worth of rations, some of which has been eaten. It's a mix of nuts, oats, and honey. You can see a small sewing kit that contains twine, the needle sets, the pin sets. You also find this cylindrical container is actually a thermos, and there's a small warmth that seems to come from it. There are also several golden-looking apples. Not literal gold, but they're just kind of that yellowy, kind of like the color of Nashi pears, but a little bit shinier. As Teddy stands against the wafting winds, ice and snow begins to fall around you. As we go to our next poem. The Ice Moor's frigid name is not just for show, as upon our brave hero falls a blanket of snow. They huddle together and scan the horizon in search, hopefully, for something to ride in. Then piercing the sounds of the whistling north come the sound of some bells. Then piercing the sound of the whistling north wind comes the sound of a bell which begins to ring. You hear the sound of a bell getting closer and closer, and the hoofsteps crunching along the snow. From the west, you can see a strange light, like a candle. It starts to make its way slowly towards you. As a sudden sleigh, bright red, adorned with golden baubles and holiday cheer, is being pulled by a lone horse, a rather large Clydesdale-looking creature that holds its chest out proudly.
That could be the Yule Father, right?
I mean, I never thought the Allfather was, a horse, but perhaps.
I've never seen him before.
That's what's pulling the sleigh. So should we go out there and just drop and let them hopefully pick us up?
Potentially.
Well, we could maybe get their attention. I could. You could set off a signal flare, and maybe they would see us.
The horse is coming directly towards you.
I got this, and I run out and start waving. Hey, we're over here!
As the teddy bear runs out and begins to wave, the horse stops with its huge hoof, literal centimeters, or inches, for those of you, away from Teddy. It looks down and sort of smells very deeply. You watch as Teddy's hair sort of, as it,
They stopped!
Yes. Quite closely to you, yes. Now that it's closer, is it easier to see what if this sleigh could be the Allfather or the Yule Fathers?
You begin to bounce on your box as you sort of move over to the side to try and investigate it. Upon closer inspection, this sleigh has no passengers, and definitely no room for the kind of cargo that the Yule Father would have used. The horse itself, also not a red dragon, a very mighty and magnificent beast nonetheless, but it looks like maybe it belongs to the town not too far away and perhaps has gotten lost in the woods, perhaps? Who knows? Nonetheless, it is a sign of good fortune and fortuitousness that it has arrived when it did.
I hop in the sleigh.
Also hopping in the sleigh to grab the reins. Where did you come from, boy? You seem a little lost.
I guess we're all doing this. Jin, after you.
Okay. Jin tries very much to not get near the horse, thinking, I probably smell like a snack. So.
That is a very good idea, Jin. You do smell so very good. So
once again,
good.
for the children.
Yes, for the children.
All right.
Agreed.
Once everybody's in, I'll climb up as well.
All right. Grabbing the satchel as you sort of lift it up patches to kind of take it with you, because I assume you take the stuff with you as well.
Yeah. Yep.
As you do so, a sort of a secret compartment by one of the flaps sort of releases what appears to be a small, sort of almost map-looking thing. There are some markings in the surrounds with a big X high in the Sugar Plum Crags.
Whoa, this is convenient.
Maybe a little too convenient.
Yes.
What do you mean?
They were a couple of thieves in the night, so things more illicit like that would be par for the course, I would think.
Perhaps they raided this sled as well, and that's why it has no rider.
Oh.
Well, anyway, there's an X on the purple, the plum crags, so we should go there.
We should, but before we do, there's one very important thing we should attend to. This horse needs a name.
I agree.
How about Sniffles?
I was going to say horse, but I feel like I'm going to be outvoted.
He sniffed you when the first stopped. So Sniffles.
I have to concur. He did sniff me.
He sneezes.
Sniffles seems to
Sniffles it
have
is.
a bit more dignity than horse, though. Pops, that was my idea too.
Very well. Sniffles the horse stands mightily still as you all board. Jin, you kind of give it a wide berth as you enter the sleigh. In the driver's seat, you can actually see it's actually a relatively new-looking sleigh with very, very lush and quite soft seats. You notice that there are reins on both the driver's side and the passenger side, as if there were supposed to be another horse, but there just isn't. This is simply a one-horse open sleigh. And in front of you, you can you can see that there are several bells.
There's two sets of reins. I bet this is to train other drivers.
Yeah. You can see a break in the middle that
I don't see a train. Where's
There's
the train?
a sticker on the back that says "How's my How's my sledding?
How's my sledding?
My sleigh.
With a big L carved into it. Yes, sorry. You also see on the, you know how I mentioned the railing that the sleighs are on. You can also see a series of bells like that are also just lying there, which is what you heard as the cart approached. On the one side of the wagon, which is on the opposite side to where the driver would sit, you can actually see that hanging over the edge is like this curved metal lantern holder, and the lantern is lighting the way.
Do you think we should have the bells on there just in case we want to be all... Well, I guess it's a giant horse. It wouldn't be very sneaky anyway.
I do like the way they jingle.
Oh, okay.
Though, I mean, to be fair, we are toys, and if push comes to shove, we just be toys in a abandoned sled, if need be.
All right.
Teddy, do you jingle one of the bells?
Yes, when I say I like the way they jingle, I definitely jingle a bell.
Okay. As you do so, there is a comforting warmth that washes over you. It fills you from the inside. Your plushy wooden and cookie bones are just filled with a sense of cheer and happiness. And you see that the other bells, almost like in tandem, start to jingle slightly with excitement. You think for a moment it might be the wind, but you think that perhaps there's something more that lies here within the sleigh.
We might have been tricked. I detect magic.
There's magic all around you. No, the sleigh is indeed magical, as is the horse.
This is magic.
I go up to like the banister of the sleigh, and I try to like hop up there to get a better focus of what kind of magic the horse is.
The horse appears to be conjuration magic.
Oh. How long do we have before this horse disappears?
You look at the horse. You inquire. The horse sneezes.
Is that in days? Hours?
What do you mean it's going to disappear? We just
might.
stabbed Snuffles.
I know. I'm growing attached to him too, or her. I don't know.
So if the horse sneezed, does that mean Sniffles has the sniffles?
Yes.
Jin is suddenly very concerned for the life expectancy of this horse.
Is there any way for me to tell if the conjuration is permanent or not?
No.
Shoot.
Well, we better get going before the horse disappears.
Is everybody, strapped in?
There are no
Holding on.
seatbelts on this sleigh.
Holding on to something?
Patches, you do have, Patches does have a sewing kit, so you can sew yourself to the seats. As Teddy grabs hold of the reins and whips it while Pops is still standing on the rails, you kind of brace for a moment, expecting to suddenly burst forward into speed, but nothing happens. Sniffles stands perfectly still. He eats some grass.
Sniffles? Yeah?
Go? That way! Forward! Mush!
Sniffles, please go. Please. Pretty please.
Yabba dabba do!
Jin
I would have
tries
been
to rack
amazed
her.
if that worked.
You gotta start with a kick. You gotta get a kickstart. If you're used to having to do.
Does someone go up and kick poor Sniffles?
No.
I cannot. I have no feet.
I can see the wheels turning in Ted's mind.
Does anyone know how to start this thing? Usually you just click the things and they go. Is there... Sniffles, come on. Here, boy. Go, boy.
Teddy's busy just basically like doing everything but getting out and pushing.
Isn't there some kind of like poem or magic words that go along with it?
You do recall, thinking back upon it. Can someone make a history check if you have it?
Ooh,
Well, actually, even if you don't have it, because this is not a game that I'm not going to mention.
What
That's
do I
a
do?
dirty 20.
What was that?
Dirty 20.
Damn, nice. All right, with a dirty 20. Anyone else? No?
No, lower.
You
Well,
do
only be
recall
hurting.
you do recall about a song about jingling bells that involve a sleigh that is pulled by a singular horse amidst a Christmas or a Yule feast eve. You kind of recall the notes that would require to be used to play it.
Would I think to use the bell, or could I pull out my flute and play it?
You can do either or. Happy for either or.
I will make a performance check.
Okay.
Does that work?
You may absolutely.
And that is a 19.
All right. With a 19, Patches reaches into his pouch and pulls out what appears to be a small wooden flute and plays a soft melody. I have a bell, and I was gonna use the bell, but given it's a flute now,
Well, no, that's fine.
this is why I got the opera singer. All right. So yes, this.
You have the
Grad
full
school.
breadth of
That's
his
what I was
skill.
trained.
So your job is done. You
That's
can leave
it.
the game.
All right, thanks. That was my quick spot. 15 seconds of fame.
So as you play this melody, all of a sudden the horse lurches into life and begins to move forward. You hang on tightly, Teddy, to the reins. Pops, you're still on the rails. You kind of are thrown
I know.
backwards into the chair as Jin. You kind of get this rush, like this. Almost like something greater is happening around, and there's this joy, like they said, there's such a coincidence here. There is something at work, something special and something magical, and it just fills your warm cookie heart.
Jin is confident about this plan
Yay!
and holds desperately onto a jingle bell.
All right.
As I'm falling, I'm gonna try to collapse into a box so I don't hurt myself.
So as you hit the back seat, it's sort of like.
I'm like a transformer,
Yeah.
basically.
All right. Now, for this next section, you follow the trailings of the map that is left behind you through some sort of machina of Deus Ex, and you find that the first path along the road that the Redcaps were traveling was towards the edge of a plateau. You arrive with the smell of cinnamon, nutmeg, salted caramel, milk, maybe. As you enter this clearing that is filled with large pools of a viscous white and gold liquid, the air is sickly sweet, and every now and then eruptions of foaming milk shoot high into the air and rain this very warm substance down upon you. As you sort of look and inspect it, you realize that you have reached the Eggnog Geysers, a dangerous place in the north of the Ice Flow Mountains, and you'll need to move through here if you wish to continue your journey. For this, we are going to go into a skills-based challenge. The way this works is I require anyone to make a skill check from the list that I am describing, and once you have made a skill, you cannot make one further for the rest of the challenge. You require 3 successes before 3 failures. So, let us begin. Sniffles gingerly begins to make his way across the plateau. The rocky surface... Oh, yep.
May I use animal handling to guide Sniffles?
Yes, you absolutely may. He is very nervous, definitely about crossing this thing with large random explosions from everywhere, and does require a tender hand to help guide him.
That's a 15.
With a 15, Teddy is kind of understands the animalistic nature, and his courage and his bravado transfers almost magically through the reins and into the spirit of our dear horse. And he plods along more confidently now, heading into the Eggnog Geysers. You watch
since-
around as large plumes, not erupting like the first geyser when you arrived, but more just these pockets of foamed milk that linger into the air, start to into the air, making it rather difficult to see. Could I get a perception check from one of the 3 remaining characters? You
I
can
only have
dictate.
2.
Which one?
I'm
Okay.
letting you.
I could give it a try. And as we're going through, can I cast guidance on myself
You may
I
absolutely
make-
cast guidance
as I
on
keep
yourself.
an eye out? Thank you. That's very kind of you. It's very important right now. Oh no.
I mean, given the circumstances
Uh,
of you trying to guide your horse through this place, it seems appropriate that that spell's used.
That's a 10 total.
A 10 in
Oh.
total.
Yeah, that was not a good roll.
Average.
Yeah.
You attempt, Jin, as you step to the front of the wagon to guide them through, but sadly frosting fogs just as much as the glass plushy eyes and, of course, the 2 buttons that comprise most of your other visions. And sadly, you hit a divot with the actual ski of the sleigh. The cart sort of lists to one side and comes to a grinding halt. The horse sort of stops for a moment because he wasn't moving fast enough to sort of crack on through it. But it appears as though your sleigh has been bogged and stuck into one of these little knot hole type things.
Can I make an Arcana check to see about if will this horse be affected by the elements like these geysers if hypothetically we hit one, or if like something in the world did something, or is it more like a phantasmal kind of horse?
Drawing upon Pops's knowledge of what this horse could possibly be, you believe that the safest course of action is to assume that it is not a magical horse, but akin to a regular horse, and is subject to the same qualms and issues and problems. Meaning that
course.
staying here
Horse
for a
problems.
prolonged period of time will not be healthy for the horse, but there is no kind of imminent, sudden, immediate death awaiting this horse.
Okay.
Can I play the tune again to try and get the horse moving?
You do so, and as you do, the horse attempts to move once again. The ski, still lodged in, doesn't quite have the leverage to pull itself out.
Wait.
So it
Pops is
looks
gonna like. Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Does it look like
Uh,
it's physically stuck? Does it look like there's
Physically stuck.
something to catch?
Definitely physically stuck, wedged into the divot. It does look
It's
like you could...
emotionally mired.
What was that?
It's emotionally mired.
Emotionally. It just sits there and it's like... No one celebrates the tires at Christmas. Yes, with the proper leverage, however, you believe that you could pull yourself free, and the horse will be able to do the rest of the work and dislodge you.
Wait, I don't think we've been using the horse to its full potential. And he goes back on the banister and then just starts laughing. He keeps laughing.
As
And
Pops,
like looks at everybody else and is like
does Patches
And,
start
I'm looking
laughing?
at the horse like
Sure.
All right. As everyone begins to laugh,
Oh, what
except
fun.
Patches, who is hesitant to begin with, you watch as the sleigh suddenly shakes. The ski sort of straightens up, and suddenly it begins to sort of hover just narrowly above the ground. Patches, as you start to laugh, the horse then lifts and begins to move a lot faster and a lot smoother. So rather than hitting the ground and sort of, bouncing around like you have been up until this point, it is now a clear and smooth ride forward as you begin to laugh all the way. However, laughing though it may be, there is still one skill check ahead. You watch as the rumbling of the ground beneath you starts to become more frequent. You see up ahead a large pine-like forest with large boulders at the end and the edge of the of the eggnog geysers. But in that last moment, you see that an explosion is imminent. I need a survival check from someone, Pops or Patches, or Jin. No, Pops or Patches, because you're the only two left. Pops or Patches, in order to guess and predict which of the geysers is not going to explode.
I've steered clear of eggnog all of my life, and I don't think this is going to help me now.
I mean, I can make the roll if you want, but it's just a d20. I got nothing on it.
Oh, well.
You start to rock paper scissors with Pops, and you realize that Pops doesn't have any fingers, unlike Patches. So all he can play is rock.
Yes.
Rock or paper.
I mean, I could be fooling you, but
It's a long game.
All right. You want me to give it a shot?
Go for it.
All right. Away we go. 13.
With a 13, as you make your way forward, there's a huge blast that rises on your left as you manage to get over one of the large holes and make your way into the forest. You have successfully passed your first series of challenges. However, beyond the eggnog geysers, you see that the forest area begins to open up. There is no worn trail, there is no pathway, and through and between each of these large, tall wooden trees, you can see sporadically spread out are large brown boulders, rocks harder than anything you've ever seen, but they seem to be glistening with jewels made of this sort of like jelly-like fruity substance. Multicolored swirls pattern the surface of these rocks, as you can see the large boulders that make up Fruitcake Forest.
Oh, God. I've heard of stories of this place.
Yes.
Do we have time maybe for a lick or two?
I don't know. I've heard some dangerous stuff about this place.
But fruitcakes are so sweet.
Looking up in the air, you actually see the moon traveling across the sky. The twilight and aurora borealis that glows from the top of the Sugar Plum Crag create a spectacular view this time of year. Inside each and every one of you, there is this inherent feeling. Time is of the essence, however, there is always time for a snack. You have the better part of about 4 hours, you feel, before the purpose within you, the purpose that gives you life, may possibly be at risk.
That does not calm me at all.
I will stop.
I have 4 hours to live.
All right, pulling on the reins, the Sniffles pulls up by one of the rather large boulders to one side. Looking upon it, it does appear to be a delicious fruitcake, and surrounding it are smaller pebbles that seem to have this very strong kind of caramelized rum smell.
I will get out and grab 2 of them. I will begin munching on one and start trying to feed Sniffles the other.
Sniffles very happily enjoys a chocolate bonbon as he starts to chew on it. You actually watch as his mane starts to grow a little longer.
So I look up at the rest of you. My paw is covered in this chocolate and it's all over my face. This is really good. You guys should try some. It's so sweet.
Out of curiosity, yes, I think I will.
A little horrified, Jin's like, I'm okay.
You leap off the of the wagon and into the snow. At this point, you realize that there's a sort of a crumpling of the snow as well. You look down and you realize that it's not really snow that covers this particular forest, but powdered sugar.
And I fall back and make it a snow angel.
I assume Teddy makes a face down snow angel.
there is with a tiny little there's a tiny little mouth-shaped divot in the snow where the snow angel should be as well. As you land, the smell of chocolates and sweets sort of permeate literally everywhere. Patches, do you disembark?
Patches disembarks, and he's looking around, and you can see his little button eyes shifting at all of the potential all of the possible things, and he settles on the close, and has some of the powdered sugar.
Very well. You have a look in wonder at this sugary wonderland. It is then that you take a more closer look at things like the trees and the bushes. Nearby, a small shrubbery made of green leaves and trees appear to be growing these fruits that look more like, I suppose, candied fruit or candy fruits entirely. Do you guys have runts in America?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, runts.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a bush literally filled with runt candies, littering it, looking very festive and fruity. You look around and you can see the treetop that have like these beautiful green leaves. The leaves themselves seem to drop down, and as they do, you notice that they're flat, cooked caramel that sort of crunches almost like autumn leaves. And you can see around you that there are these other kind of small, not like kind of the big tall woodland trees, but like the little tiny sprigs that seem to be covered in cotton candy.
So almost too curious. Patches wanders from one thing to another, and he keeps looking back over his shoulder, and he snaps about 90 seconds in, realizes that he's traveled much farther than he really should have, and comes back to the sleigh.
As Patches begins to move around, while of course Teddy, Pops, and Jin revel. Sorry, did Jin want to revel? Is this
Jin is on the sled saying a little prayer to the great baker in the sky for his confectionery gifts.
Praise be the baker and the sweets maker. And
he did set the oven at 350 degrees. So you're just hearing this sort of...
And he turned the world golden brown. All right, so Patches, as you make your way through the forest, can I get a perception check from you? You're not too far away yet. I'd say you're about maybe 30 foot away from the wagon at this point.
That is 16. 16?
With a 16 and a sudden start, you hear this, "Hi there!" as what appears to be a man made of a circular, spherical candy that is kind of flat, has this kind of spicy note to it, with these large kind of gloved hands and large, big red shoes. His pattern on the candied surface appears to be blue, green, and red stripes at various increments upon his white body. "You seem new to the neighborhood. My name's Captain Peppermint."
Peppermint.
Yes?
"You folks seem lost. Perhaps I can help you some. This is the Sugar Gum Forest. At the edge of the fruitcake forest, you can find every kind of confectionery you want. In fact, we invite people to stay here all year round. There's just so much to see, so much to do. Perhaps your friends would like to come on a little trip. There's something I'd like to show you."
We do have limited time. How long is it going to take?
"Oh, it won't take any time at all. No time at all."
Yep, that's what I thought. Back on the sleigh.
Can Jin hear this from the sleigh?
Yeah, you can hear this quite boisterous peppermint conversation.
She tries to sort of take an assessment of this person that is very keen on dragging us away from our goal here.
Make an insight check, then make me a perception check. Teddy, what's your reaction? Are you still sort of rolling around, or when you hear this peppermint dude?
Oh no, I'm totally kind of following Patches around, sampling all the different things to eat.
Oh yeah. You basically you stuffed your hand into one of the bushes and you swirled it around to fill it with cotton candy, then shoved it into the bush with all the fruits in it, and you've pulled out the runts. You dusted it with like some sugar and then like thrown like one chocolate bonbon on the top.
Sounds delicious.
This place is so good.
What happened when I ate the chocolate bonbon? Did I grow anything, or that's what I was curious about?
Oh, you grab the chocolate bonbon. As you eat it, you are filled with this this kind of magic kind of, you know that feeling when it's like really frozen outside, you've just come in, you've thrown off all your wet clothes, and the first thing you do is you put on your housewear stuff, but then you've learnt that your partner has just ironed all your stuff and you've just put it on you straight after coming out of the cold, and they hand you like a hot chocolate. That is the feeling that Pops is getting right now. Like, you are so cozy and so comfortable, as is Teddy. Anyone who's basically eaten the stuff from here just gets this sense of, like wanting to just sit down and just be cozy.
I like it, but I don't like it at the same time.
I like it, but I'm afraid. Jin, what was our insight check?
I rolled an 11 on my insight check and a dirty 20 on my perception check.
All right. Well, as you are taking a moment to look at and listen to this individual, you go, "Why? This friendly man is mildly disarming." And suddenly you hear another voice from behind you, Jin, on the sleigh. You turn and suddenly, "Hi there! My name's Captain Peppermint." As a second one has appeared behind you. "You travelers look like you're lost. Perhaps you'd like to stay a while and rest."
Jin spends a little too much time doing double take between the two of them.
They're definitely both identical in every way. Maybe the peppermint lines are a little bit misaligned compared to one to the other.
Okay. Hello. Are you brothers, or what? Why is there two of you?
Oh, hi, Captain Peppermint. Oh, hi, Captain Peppermint. Have you told these people about the secret place? I was just about to. This fine young ragdoll was about to follow us there. Weren't you, my new friend?
Maybe.
We're on a mission of great importance. We're supposed to be at a house. We're each supposed to be in the homes of children tonight, and it's very important. As lovely as your forest is, right, fellas?
Yeah, it's really nice here.
All of a sudden, from behind
That's not
Teddy.
what I was looking for.
Yes, it is. It's really nice here. Hi, I'm Captain Peppermint. From behind Teddy.
There's another one. There's another one.
I don't like our numbers right now.
Well,
I don't like numbers either. I hate math.
Oh, you too. I can't keep track of all the math that happens here. But that's okay. We don't need math where we're going.
but I like math.
All of a sudden, from behind Pops, there's this small green candy. It's like a sphere.
I get a different one.
Yeah, you get a different one. There's a sphere, and it sort of has this kind of glazed look over its eye. I like Matt's too. I'm first mate Sourball.
Well, hello. You seem to be the most realistic thing about this place so far.
Says the Jack in the Box to the talking candy. They say, well, if you want to, you can follow us to a special glade not too far from here. It's where many of us have gone. We've learned many secrets and truths about the world, and we share it with each other, all in the spirit of happiness and joy.
What if we don't want to go?
Oh, well, if you don't want to go, then you're welcome to leave.
With like the magic that resides within all of us, is it safe to say this is the same magic that is in the Captain Peppermints and the Sour Ball? Okay, so
Giving
we're on the
off
same
the same
page.
vibe.
Same vibe, yeah.
All right. That feels a little more comforting now. If we're all going to basically go to the same fate, I think, then. I don't know. Maybe they're just fatalistic, and I'm missing something here.
Peace, love, and candy.
Peace, love, and candy. They, one of them pulls out like a licorice stick, hands it to Teddy. It's red licorice.
Well, if
If
you're
you
very...
had black licorice, she would have just raged.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Whoa! Oh no, this went south so fast.
What do you guys think?
Well, if it's not gonna take too long, and we can bring Sniffles with us, so we can leave quick when we're ready.
Oh yes, your horse is more than welcome to come along.
Perhaps you don't know of a plight that we know of where potentially all the people that derive their magic from the Yule Father will simply cease to move, be. We will just become toys, bits of wood and such, and you will just be
candy.
Candy, yes.
Wasting
delicious
away
candy.
in the woods.
Do you know of that?
Oh yes,
Do you know of that?
we know all of that. That's why we have this secret place to show people like you and like us.
To help?
Of course. Well, the most helpful person in the forest is there. Her name is Noelle.
Okay.
How do you spell it?
Noel.
Is that the first one or the second one?
The first one.
I don't know. I mean,
Like to be there and eat some more candy.
they're a little zealous, but who am I to judge?
Is there any way I can get I don't know. I'm still on the fence. Is there any way I can get a better read on them at all?
Okay. For a little bit of extra context, you do have your task. You look up at the moon once again. You do still have a few hours. Depending on how long, obviously, this travel is, which you recognize quite openly that they're being very cagey about. You should have enough time to make it to the top of the mountain. Unless they take you down the mountain, you won't lose ground, if that makes sense. So you've got maybe about less than an hour to get to the summit.
Okay. As long as we could take the horse and sleigh with us, then okay. Teddy,
All right.
if you're on board, then I guess we'll be able to get ourselves out of any situation.
Yes, someone else is going to have to drive, though. I'm walking. And he's shoving things in his mouth.
You basically watch as Teddy walks, however, the sugary silt of the snow around him starts to sort of coalesce on his body. You watch as he slowly goes from being this pink bear to a polar bear, as he sort of gathers more and more sugar. The journey is not very far as the peppermint soldiers begin to sort of make their way forward. Jin?
Oh, it's just Teddy. It's powder. Never mind.
He sort of shapes it into a powdered wig.
I think he's saving it for later.
As you eventually come to what appears to be a crystal clear lake. This lake glistens with a bright blue vibrance and bubbles with an effervescence that seems almost magical. This is the Creaming Soda Lagoon. And you can see a large collection of various assorted edible candies. But these are not like the ones that you have been eating along the way. These ones all have hands and legs and move with a certain animation that is very familiar. As they arrive, the peppermints say, "We found some new friends!" And you hear there's a cheer that goes off. These tiny little gumdrop babies start to giggle and laugh. You watch as these other sort of jelly babies sort of jump and jiggle, and of course you watch as this large Twinkie roll sort of. It's almost like a Brontosaurus moment, You hear the theme from Jurassic Park as it sort of, moves past.
They move in herds. They do move in herds.
Yes, the
They move
Twinkies
in little
ahead.
crinkly packages.
Patches, you take a moment to look around. Can I get a intelligence? Actually, sorry, Patches and Pops. Can I get an intelligence save from you two, or an intelligence roll? Sorry, not save.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry. Yes.
Those are two different things.
Yes.
Not good. That is a 4.
It is wondrous here.
I have I think I have a 18.
With an 18, Pops, you recognize very quickly that every single person here, with the exceptions of you, Patches, and Teddy, are toy folk who are comprised of edible foodstuff.
So this entire time, I think Pops has been kind of trying to hash out, like, when does a candy become sentient? Like, the forest is candy, and he handed us a licorice stick. How do I know that's not, like, the leg of another sentient candy person, etc., etc.?
All right. Pops takes a moment.
Falling down the hole.
Pops has a moment to have his partially existential crisis about cannibalism in the Candy Kingdoms, and slowly realizes that
Jin does not partake in the forest.
Yes. That he also noticed that the candy people did not eat any of the candy that was around everyone.
It's a
Right.
politeness thing.
I guess.
There are baked goods around.
There
as
are
well?
also baked goods, and the first thing to approach is a gingerbread old lady. Allow me to present Noelle, the queen of the Candy Kingdoms. Hooray! Enough of that, dearie. Welcome, travelers. It's so good to see those of the magical kin here. I must say, I was not expecting more visitors, not since last year. You see, every year there are more that come into the forest, lost, poor souls who find themselves trapped here without children to bring joy to. And we bring them here and give them a home, give them purpose. What
sort?
Oh, no, go please.
What sort of purpose would that be?
Well, the purpose that is afforded to all. The purpose to survive, my dear. You see, our kind is not like the teddy bears and the rag dolls, or even whatever the hell you are. Our kind, once we fulfill our purpose, become food, devoured by hungry, spoiled, fat little children. And well, grandmother will not have any of that. So we created a place to give refuge to those like yourself, young gingerbread cleric. Meanwhile, however, others are given a choice to become like us, to embrace the candy. Would you embrace the candy?
I'm probably like embracing candy right now.
He is embracing lots
random
of candy.
people. You guys are awesome. Jin kind of nervously looks at the others.
I kind of mouth to Jin. Does that mean we become candy, or like?
Well, allow me to demonstrate. We found this young elf on a shelf, and we've captured him.
Captured?
You see this dangly-legged elf with a red hat. It seems to be made of wood. It's tied up by the red licorice and hanging from a tree that overhangs over the bubbling, effervescent lake. He says,
partially
"Please."
relieved that that's used as rope and not actually a living being.
"You don't understand. All I wanted to do was watch the children. We know, sicko." As the old lady gingerbread woman raises her hand, "Drop him!" And suddenly you watch as these two like sort of toy these like sort of eclairs, right? They sort of untie the rope, and you watch the elf go no splash into the lake. You see that there's some thrashing going about, and then a few moments later, crawling out of the lake appears to be this candy jellied creature that looks to be like, for those of you as old as I am, it's like a scene from, Who Killed Roger Rabbit. He just sort of crawls out.
I was literally about to say it was like the dip.
Yeah. As it now sort of begins to harden, you watch as it sort of becomes like this candied lollipop-headed man. And goes,
I have to go.
Hi there! I'm Captain Lollipop.
I have to go. We have to leave now.
Oh no!
We have to leave now.
Is so wrong!
Thank you so
Noelle, she can't let her conscience get the better, or her conscience gets the better of her.
No, they didn't ask to be like that. That seems like that should be a choice.
Oh, of course they did, my dear. You see, we're all born with a purpose, an inherent task set upon by large, semi-divine creatures. The great baker, the wondersmith, the cobbler, the toyman, the woodmaker. All of these people. They don't care about our purpose. Once we fulfill it, we are but food. Here, you can be so much more. We only turn those who refuse to accept the purpose of their own life, their own value.
You say
No
everyone
one
needs
needs
to be
else
food?
on the shelf.
I'm a lollipop on a shelf now. A Captain Lollipop. He dangles. This is my dangle.
I'm sorry, but I have to disagree. I think, everyone's purpose is set forth, and if you change that, then you're going against the very nature of what it is.
That elf used to say the same thing. She stares at you.
And if you were nice, you would just let him go. Not let him go into a lake.
And what of you, gingerbread cleric? What if I told you that nothing but the hungry gut of a creature that you were simply made for awaits for you at the end? Would you not wish for something more?
Well, sure. I mean, I've had a long time to think about that since today, but that's not what my friends want. So I don't. My job is to get them where they need to go.
I was afraid of this. We have more of them that cannot see the way. But do not worry. We will free you all. Capture them! All of a sudden you watch as the lollipop people suddenly turn towards you, as do the candy people. You guys, except for Teddy, are still in the wagon. You can see that there are still, let's say that there are 3 of the peppermint captains still on the wagon as well.
Well, usually lollipops get licked, but in this case, my lollipop does the licking.
All right, Teddy begins to fly into a fierce rage. Let's roll initiative, if we will.
Oh, goodness.
Everywhere.
Oh,
Save my life.
yes.
That would be a nat 1 to give me a 3.
You bounced me out then. I got a nat 20.
Oh, nice.
Wow. I rolled a 4 total. Was it 8 patches?
That's
8.
an 8, yeah.
Sorry, was that 8 for patches?
8 for pass.
Again.
I cannot roll initiative well.
Yeah, no, right. 8 for Patches. What was Pops' total?
22.
22 for Pops. And Jin?
4.
A 4 for Jin. All right. The candy folk, they don't do that well. They get a 6. All right. So, starting, of course, with Pops. You are on the wagon. There are 3 candied peppermint people behind you, and they start to make their way towards you. Can I get you to make me a perception check? Actually, everyone can make a perception check, because you were all pretty observant, and no one really sprung into things too readily, so you had plenty of time to observe.
That's a nat 20.
Nat 20,
Jeez.
okay. Yeah.
I got a
7.
4.
Yeah, 21.
All right. You can see that there are several of these candied people who are armed with what appears to be large, massive, like, sort of flails that have these swirling sort of balls on the end of them. You watch as one of them sort of displays its power and smashes it into an actual rock and crushes it. This is a jawbreaker flail. You can also see that there is this sort of wispy kind of like strung out angel hair sugar that has been turned into a sort of like this bowstring that many of them are using to fire what look to be like sort of toothpicks. They have like tiny little like cherries and like assorted candied fruits on them. And more importantly, Teddy, you notice that hanging in the center of the lake is a tiny little island fruitcake. And growing out of the island appears to be a very, very large, sort of wide span tree with these tiny little circular candies. They're caked in white, sort of spherical. They kind of look like Mentos.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you get with your natural 20.
Nice.
All right.
Somebody needs to shake that tree!
Pops. Teddy yells at you about shaking the tree.
Okay, so you said the tree is like over the lake, basically,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Oh shit. Let's see. Shoot. Is it easy to see that they're quite in opposition of us? If I
Oh, yeah.
actually no, first.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The
are
only thing
there-
they're missing is to stop for a moment and say gooble gobble. All right, you're good.
Gotcha. Okay. So you said there were 3 on the wagon or next to the wagon?
There are 3 in the rear of the wagon. You
In the rear
three,
of the wagon.
Pops, Jin, and Teddy. Pops, Jin, and Patches. You 3 are in the driver's sort of carriagey seat sort of bit. So yeah, they're just sort of behind you, behind that rail.
Okay. Okay. Then I want to then, before they get too close, I'm gonna basically I'm going to take my wand and then use my spring to kind of like do like a really big circle around and cast protection from good and evil, or from evil. Yeah.
Did the Jack in the Box wizard just get a wind up?
Yeah.
All right then. Very well. As you begin to spin wildly around, a cascading light begins to flow from the tip of your tiny little stick wand, and everyone is now enshrouded in this kind of light kind of aura that seems to protect them from evil. Which these creatures are definitely evil. After Pops, we then move on to Patches.
It's already up to an 8. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they did not do well.
So there's 3 Captain Peppermints on the on the thing. How much proximity is, like, are we really, tightly packed, or is there space?
The 3 of you are tightly packed. There's a 5-foot step between you and them. You know that railing that separates the back of the wagon from the front? That's the only thing that blocks you at the moment.
So I will draw my sewing needle, and I will engage. I'm not thrilled about moving into combat with 3 of them. That is a 16.
All right. With a 16, you step up and you thrust at one of the peppermint soldiers. It strikes true as bits chip off his form.
For a total of actually max damage, so 11.
11. Not bad. Not bad. Sadly, he is resistant to your penetrating strike, and only 5 damage goes through.
Okay.
As it then turns to the peppermint and candy people's turns, the candy people basically start to rally as they draw out their weapons and get into position. You watch as the giant Twinkie sort of seems to let loose this roar that sprays this sweet cream outwards, startling the horse. The horse does not wait for you to play the music to start getting the hell out of Dodge. It begins its turning circle to leave. Teddy, can I get a quick reflex save? Reflex. Can I get a quick dexterity saving throw from you? Yes, you can see this. This is a viable threat as you try to avoid the sleigh crushing you.
Yeah, 18.
Oh yeah, you combat roll to one side. You sort of even do this like sort of tumble and then sort of have the lollipop to behind you, like ready to strike an attack. Again, your hair kind of, or your fur kind of pointed upwards from your rage. The 3 Captain Peppermint sort of look at Patches and they say, "Have some candy!" and start to beat the snot out of him. Unless a 10 hits.
No.
Nope. An 11.
No.
And off the table. Come on here. You are that's okay. That's a 23.
23 will certainly hit.
This is the one that you've stabbed. You've kind of chipped off the top of his head. That is now his official name. He is no longer Captain Peppermint. His name is now Chip. Chip punches you as hard as he can, and you take 8 points of damage.
Right. Well, just like he is. I'm assuming he's doing bludgeoning.
He is doing bludgeoning.
So I am resistant to bludgeoning, so I will only take 4.
Ah, nice. Very nice. So as he sort of hits your like, because the patchwork for the ragdoll is obviously fabric, but on the inside is like these, like sort of wood shavings and felt and the like, which give it a robust feel, but it is very resistant to the candied knuckle duster that Chip tries to punch you with. All right. Moving on, we then go to Jin.
Jin shouts out to Teddy, "Teddy, looks like we're moving. You should come on." And then she's going to see Patches sort of surrounded and conjure her spiritual weapon again next to Chip. And it'll be, this time it's going to be like a mallet. And it's going to swing at Chip.
Very well. This mallet appears with a large star sort of emblazoned upon one of the sides of this this giant hammer. It almost looks like one of those, those squeaky hammers that you sort of, when you whack, it sort of goes. Yeah. It kind of transforms into one of these things, but made of solid wood. As it swings wildly to try and hit it.
Swings for a 17.
That'll hit. Which one are you hitting? Are you hitting Chip or one of the other ones?
Chip. I'm hitting Chip.
Ah, poor Chip.
Ooh, that's 11 bludgeon. That's 11 force damage.
Oof.
Nice.
All right, Chip takes a mighty blow. Another huge segment of him sort of cracks and, sort of breaks away. He's sort of still held together, but there's now this, like, spider web-like network of cracks through his body. He's still got this very creepy smile. He's like, "Now that wasn't very nice. I'm gonna have to give you some candy, too."
I think you might be better off as peppermint bark. And I'm going to cast Sacred Flame on him.
Jesus. Ah! All right, make your attack.
That's a dex save for Chip.
Chip gets a 4 on his dexterity save.
All right. So on a fail, you it's gonna take 1d8 damage. That's a 3, so 3 radiant damage.
All right. As the radiant flames circle around Chip, you watch as his body begins to sort of start dripping and melting. As he goes, "Ah, that's okay. I forgive you. I'll be back. And I'll be back next year." And he sort of has this moment with his thumb like... as he turns into a puddle of peppermint.
Jin gets the heebie-jeebies.
The other two sort of look at Jin and go, "You shouldn't ought to done that to Captain Peppermint. We're going to have to teach you a lesson." Teddy.
So there's an island that has the tree on it, right? Surrounded by this lake.
That's correct. You still have a fistful of bonbons on your person?
I do. All right. And how big is this giant Twinkie creature?
To you guys' relative size, it would be about the size of a school bus.
Wow.
So if that were to fall over, how close would it get to the lake?
It would be partially submerged in the lake. Like, it would sort of, like, if it sort of tilted to one side, it would be partially submerged. If, however, you timed your attack well and knocked it upwards and backwards, it would land directly in the lake, creating quite a large splash of this soda.
Okay, I want to run at the Twinkie monster and just totally bull rush him. I'm going to leap at his knee and try and knock him over.
All right. Teddy rushes forward with this fierce focus, lollipop in hand. He shoulder checks this giant Twinkie monster. Make an athletics check, please.
I did. That's a 12, and that's with advantage because I'm raging.
Yep. Okay. That is... What happens when they tie?
It would probably go to the higher stat.
All right, what's your stat?
I have a 16 strat.
What if the stats are tied?
Then
roll off, reroll. Let's go for a reroll.
One more time.
That's not a lot better. That is a 14.
14?
Yes.
Roll again. Stop it.
Guys. Well, he's probably got it this time because that's a 7.
Nope. He got a 5. As you basically watch as Teddy collides with this huge Twinkie monster. There's this huge back and forward, like Teddy gets a few feet, the monster gets a few feet, Teddy gets a few feet, the monster gets a few feet. And then suddenly Teddy sort of manages to get under what makes up its chin and sort of lift it up above him, and then bull rush into its side and lift it and fling it backwards. As it falls, it lands in the lake. Could I get a percentage roll, please, from Teddy?
Ooh.
Okay, we can absolutely.
So epic.
It's probably the most epic battle I've had with a Twinkie.
Right?
42%.
42%. That is fine. As it lands, a spray erupts, covering 42% of the surrounds of the lake. You can actually watch as some of the candy people are like sort of covered in it. They sort of recoil briefly for a moment. As Teddy, can I get a dexterity saving throw from you?
All right. Does any of that spray reach up to those round circular?
We'll get to that. The whole thing happens.
That's a 12.
12? Some of the spray does catch onto you, catching onto the fur on your shoulder. As it does so, you realize that it's not dissolving you or anything like that. It's got the consistency of bubblegum that you've now got stuck to your fur, which makes you angrier. But then again, I feel like your fur was already pretty sticky.
Yeah, probably.
All of a
Teddy
sudden,
didn't have a lot of concern for self-preservation as a future child's toy.
as the Twinkie collapses, the water that sprays upwards manages to shake the tree, and 42 little white orbs fall into the water. All of a sudden, you watch as the effervescence starts to become violent and starts to roil. You watch as the surface sort of shakes. You watch as the old lady goes, like, it's like a kind of a scene from one of those, like world disaster movies. No. As she turns and has that close-up moment. All right. That's what happens there. Back to the top of the round. Pops, it's your turn. You've seen what's happened. You sort of do some quick number crunching and some maths. You can fill in the others in very quickly at what's going to happen.
We've got to get out of the blast radius right now. So let's see. So but Teddy's in there right now.
Teddy's quite a ways away. You will not be able to reach him without disembarking. Or at least not readily.
Remind me, Misty Step can't take another person, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Can I reach Teddy with Misty Step?
You can get to Teddy, yes.
Right. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna turn to Jin and be like, "Stop the sleigh," and I'm going to try and that's a good point. So I'm gonna turn actually to Patches and say, Patches, hit me up. And I'm gonna like lift up my arms and I want tie me, anchor me here, give me a spool. I'm gonna try to become a living life draft.
Okay, so is there anything here in the cart that we can tie him?
You do have your sewing kit with twine
All right,
and
that's right.
a sewing needle.
All right, so we'll totally, tie him up with twine and affix him to the cart.
Okay.
Is that
I'm going to.
a hand check?
I'm gonna wait. What?
Yeah, I don't know if you need a.
Oh no, I'm happy for that. I mean, I'm not that kind of GM that's gonna be like, no, I'm gonna make you roll on your lifeline. No, you basically just do a loop. You tie the soul in, and just for good measure, because it doesn't hurt you, you kind of just sort of sew your belt to the twine, so you can kind of hang on to Pops as he's gonna do whatever he's gonna do.
Okay, I'm gonna Misty Step then to Teddy, and then basically hold on, and once I do so, then basically shout, like I'm gonna start singing basically as soon as I get there.
All right, well go ahead.
So
it's that scene out of Toy Story.
I'm not the best singer. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, all the hills we go, laughing on the way. Is it working?
All of a sudden,
the horse
going? Bolts and begins to book it. As it does so, I need Jin and Patches to make me a dexterity saving throw, as there is a sudden burst of acceleration. And I'm going to do the same thing for the peppermint people.
Oh no, that was a 5.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna get one of you to roll for me because for the peppermint people.
You want to take my 5?
No, you can have your 5.
No, okay.
But you can roll. You can roll me for my
Sure.
peppermint person. Roll my peppermint person.
So for your peppermint person, I have a 4 on the die plus whatever their modifier is.
Dang it. Okay, fine. Both peppermint
Good
people
job.
do not expect this, and basically, while they're very threatening and very children of the corny, they sort of bang! Both simultaneously smack their heads on the railing and flip over the driver's seat and over the back of the wagon. Sorry, not over the back of the wagon, over the driver's seat, over the back of the wagon, where the sort of little hatch thing is. Over there you go, as you begin to accelerate. Pops, you watch your box suddenly fly out in front of you. You're like, yes, now is the time, and you hold on to Teddy as close as you can. I assume Teddy doesn't resist?
Going with the flow.
All right. The box continues to move away. Pops, you still haven't moved, neither has Teddy. The box continues to moving, and continuing, and continuing, and continuing. All of a sudden you look down,
yourselves, Teddy.
and you can see there's this bit of metal that is now stretched almost taut, and then as you are launched, the two of you flung towards the wagon. As the
to think there's a silhouette of Teddy of all the powdered
sugar. Yeah, this powdered sugar stands there and then. All right, as they come careening towards the sleigh, Jin and Patches, what do you do? You're obviously
rolled a 5 on my deck save, so it's very likely I didn't do well.
You slip off to the one side, and again you manage to, but because you're in the driver's seat, you fall into the back of the wagon, where you can actually see Pops and Teddy suddenly careening towards the actual sleigh. Patches, you're the only one capable of steering at the moment. We're out of initiative at this point, so we'll continue forward.
I have an 11 for my deck save, and so I'm the one steering, and I'll just try my best. I'm pretty agile to try and guide them.
Up the mountain.
All right, make a dexterity check, or
make a dex check.
Oh, make an acrobatics check. I'll let that be kind of a balancy kind of.
Acrobatics is better. That is an 11.
11? No worries. With that, you managed to sort of Sniffles is definitely a little bit more panicked, but you managed to sort of get some direction in his panic as he's moving forward. Meanwhile, Jin at the back, you kind of hear this dashing through the snow and getting louder and louder and louder as he's
laughing all the way out.
do you try and catch them, or what would you like to do?
Sure. No, I'll do what I can to try to slow them down a little bit.
Okay. You reach up, try to catch them. The three of you can make me a dexterity saving throw.
10.
10?
12.
21.
21. All right. Everyone but Pops takes 3 points of damage as the three of you suddenly roll over each other in the back of the sleigh.
You mean Teddy?
Sorry, yes, Teddy.
Okay.
Teddy is soft. He bounces. All right.
Whoa! That was a lot of fun. Can we do it again?
All right, now, maybe later.
Perhaps when we get to where we're going, but right now we need to go.
All right.
And then I keep singing.
You keep singing with leaving behind the decimated candied toy folks. You begin to continue your climb to the summit of the Sugar Plum Peaks. Now, which brings us to our next to last little poem here. At the frozen crest of this perilous climb, our tiny young heroes arrive just in time to witness a snowman with his face injured and grim as a trio of redcaps repeatedly kick him. As your sleigh approaches, they stop their tracks cold, and right now and then, I want an initiative roll. So, there.
There we go. Goodness gracious.
That's better.
I got a double digit. Hooray.
All right.
Yay!
I just need to know who's got the highest at the moment.
16.
I have
12.
20 right now.
20? Anyone higher than 20? Nope. All right. 20 is what I need to beat. I do not. Okay. So, as this careening sleigh flings and flies rapidly towards these three poor unsuspecting redcaps, whoever is driving, and it has been a fair enough while so that you can swap if you desire, may make an acrobatics or a dexterity check in order to try and steer them to either avoid or collide with these three redcaps.
I would like to still be driving, and I would like to run them down.
Very well.
Oh, 19 on the die. That is a 24.
Yeah.
You basically
those
hear
suckers down.
this very soft thud 3 times as these red caps are basically mowed down. As they sort of pop their heads out of the snow, which is now ice and snow like it should normally be, you notice that they are all now in sort of covered in like a boulder-like ball of snow. Their heads sort of sticking out in their hands as well, as they say, "What was that?" "I don't know." "Well, it's your fault, whatever it was. I thought we were beating up that snowman." "I was beating up the snowman. You were being a tit." "Oi, don't call him a tit." "Oi, don't call me a tit." "I'll call who I want a tit. Get us out of here." "Well, what do you want me to do?" "I don't know. Reach for your knife." "I can't reach it." "All right, here's what we do. We roll, all right? Backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards. All right, let's get him, boys." As you hear the rolling sound of the red cap slowly fading into the distance, you see this sentient snowman sort of start to pick himself up. He picks up a top hat and dusts it off, places it wearily onto his head, and then pulls some sunglasses out of the snow and dusts them off and puts them. "Hey guys, thanks for the timely rescue. Don't know what I would have done if they'd kicked me a few more times. You see, though it don't really feel much of nothing given I'm made of snow and everywhere here is snow. Say, you folk don't look like red caps. Though I dig your cap, little man," he says, pointing at the ragdoll. "Give me some skin, sweet mama." And she puts his hand out like for a high five to Jin.
Okay.
You touch the snow. There's a little handprint in it. "My name is Jazzy the Snowman, and I've been waiting here for just you 4 fine, cool cats. You see, I work for the big man himself.
Oh.
He sent you here because you are presents, but you ain't present for kids. Well, at least not just yet. There's someone who needs your Yuletide spirit, and he lives just beyond this tunnel here. Now, I can let you go straight and true, but you need to prove that you've got the spirit within you. Do you want to take the trial and find your way through and help those in need when they wouldn't help you?"
I don't really like tests.
Trial. It's a trial.
It's more of a riddle, man. Like, I'll ask a question, you give me something in return, and then we let bygones be bygones, and I take you to where you need to go.
And if hypothetically we don't want to answer your riddle,
Well, that's super easy. Then I simply let you walk your way through the forest yourselves, which is filled with wolves and tigers and bears, and I think I saw an eagle.
well,
He sort of says this like straight-faced.
I'm up for the trial.
Riddle's better than being escorted through the woods to your candy death.
Yes, that's yeah.
All right. Then this one is an easy one for you young toys. I'd like you to bring me a ball which doesn't bounce. That's it.
I'll jump out into the snow and get the ball out of snow.
Right on! Snowball. He throws it at Pops.
Hey! I'm made of wood. It's gonna warp.
As it sort of hits Pop in the face, he sort of ding, 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 ding. And he says, "All right this way, guys." As he makes his way towards what appears to be a large boulder, he places his soft snow hand upon it, and Nordic runes start to glow around what appears to be a doorway. The stone itself melts away into the ground, and a doorway emerges from within. The passage is long and dark, but at the end there appears to be a dim blue light at the edge of this long tunnel. He looks to you and says, "This is the final leg of your journey. What you make of it is yours. You may be toy folk built for a purpose, but what you want to do with your life is always up to you. No one is created for the purpose of someone else. Have fun, my righteous dudes."
Thank you, Jazzy.
Thank you.
Will
Jazzy.
we see you again?
Have a good night.
He says, "Well, maybe, but till next time my purpose is complete." He takes off his hat, and when he does so, he freezes mid-position. He is now holding his hat just out, like almost like he's saying, yeah, like he's literally like, sort of bidding you farewell, as he is now turned into a real, purposeful, non-magical snowman.
Oh,
That was weird.
Despite his frozen features, he seems to be in an immense amount of joy.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
soldier on.
You begin to make your way through the tunnel. As you approach what you believe to be the closing of your purpose, this feeling inside you, the one that you felt, the same thing when you looked up at the moon and at the sky, it seems to be growing. Like something inside you is like sort of warming you up and blossoming, giving you this sense of fulfillment that you hadn't achieved with every single step that you go forward. You have a few moments to talk among yourselves as you travel this narrow passageway.
Do you think this is some kind of test from the Yule King?
maybe, but I kind of feel singled out if it's actually a test, because I don't think he can do that for all the toys. Can he?
Well, I've heard that pretty much everything's a test, so you either succeed or fail at everything. So
He's the Yule King. He can do whatever he wants, I think.
Wow.
Maybe he won't have to get eaten.
Yeah, that would be kind of nice. But
As I step
it was.
and I look longingly.
Some of you, I believe, are also still partially injured. If you wish to, you may use this opportunity to restore yourselves in whatever way you see fit.
So is this able to have a short rest here?
Yes.
I will spend one of my hit dice. And yay, I did not roll a 1, so I am fully healed.
Same. Oh yeah, I've always been sort of prepared for the inevitable when it comes to what I'm for, but it would be nice to not be a snack. I kind of wish that those folks back in the woods were a little more on the level and a little less culty, but
Yeah, they were
nice.
scary.
They were
Yeah.
literally drinking the Kool-Aid. I was waiting for someone to make that reference. It didn't happen.
Well, there are some who really like gingerbread cookies, and they coat them in something and don't eat them, and they use them as decorations. So
Yeah, I've heard of that.
it's possible.
Seems wonderful.
Oh, maybe they can hang you on the tree.
And you can come out all year, like every year.
Yeah.
And you're not just a one-time use gingerbread cookie.
You become a one time a year use gingerbread cookie.
Oh, the
Not
kids.
eating though.
The kids
That's
can
fair.
take her down and play with them.
That's true.
While
let's
we're
say that-
short resting,
Mhm.
I would like to regain that second level spell slot that I spent
Very well. You do so.
with Arcane Recovery.
As you make your way to the end of the tunnel, you find yourself in a rather bleak setting. There is no snow that lands on the ground here, just dead earth and soil, growing from which are tall trees that look like they kind of look like candy canes that have been stripped entirely of their color. There is no red stripe to countermand the white, and they look like they have been bleached in some way. Around this forest, this small, very, very tiny forest, is a wall of stone that reaches up high to the Sugar Plum Crag. This is Sugar Plum Peak, and at least a secret place within the peak itself. As you move forward along this kind of dirty little path, you can see that there is a small wooden shed with piles of chopped down candy trees stacked next to a stump with a monstrous looking axe leaning against the shed. This axe is about the size of a building to you guys. 70 foot ahead of the shack is a small wooden cabin. Broken windows and fallen snow cover the tiled roofs that have holes pockmarked all over the place. And as you pass towards it, could I get everyone to make me a perception check, please?
Ugh.
9.
7.
15?
15? 15.
11 for me.
All right. With a 15, Pops, as you're hopping around, leaving these square footprints as you plod along, you are startled as you crunch something underneath your box. You quickly move off it to realize that you are staring at a wooden hand, not too dissimilar to the one used for patches. It is lying strewn on the floor.
There's something. There's someone here. I guess I back off as far as I can, and like.
You all circle
then I start
around
trying
and have a
to,
look
like-
at this severed toy hand. As you do so, there's kind of like a sort of a dread that sort of sweeps over you.
Oh, that looks like that hurt.
And maybe they're still around. We can help them. Maybe.
Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe Patches could sew it back on.
Ooh.
We do have a sewing kit.
Yeah, I'm pretty
pretty good with a
pretty
needle.
handy. What would you call it? Combat medic.
Pops, you want to put that in your box for later, maybe?
I'll give it a shot, and I'll take the I'll try to take the hand out of the snow, and I'll partially be seeing if it's still attached to anything underneath.
You pull it out, and it is not attached to anything. And you hang on to it. As you continue to approach the large, I mean, like, when I say large, I mean your toys. It's large. It looks like it belongs to a giant. This large cabin is littered with what appears to be broken toys. Around the entire outskirts surrounding it are bits and pieces of debris, and all of a sudden you hear the sound of something crashing within this building, as all of a sudden another window smashes and breaks as a teddy bear is flung out of the window, and it lands not too far away from you.
Okay.
I'm starting to take this a little personal.
Jin tries to shuffle up to the teddy bear to see if it's hurt.
You turn the teddy bear over as you inspect it to see if it's hurt. The teddy bear is not animate. It is a standard, regular teddy bear, and it appears to have 2 faces and 1 leg. It also has various bits of fabric which are used very haphazardly. The sewing isn't quite done right, so there's stuffing pouring out in various places. It lies there, still and motionless.
Oh,
it like
that's
the same
avant-garde.
Is it the same size as Teddy?
It's about the same size as Teddy.
Well,
Someone's trying a new design.
are they alive?
They're not.
They never were.
Oh,
That's odd.
Kind of feel bad for it.
Yeah, 2 faces
Is-
might have been kind of handy.
Do you think
is there-
he had its magic sucked out?
That's what I was thinking, Teddy.
Is that something that I can assess, Michael?
Um,
If it was ever alive, or if it...
You can't. You just know that there is no magic on it right now.
Okay, I'm not sure, but it's just a toy. Now.
Can I detect magic coming from the cabin?
There is a tiny, and I mean like the tiniest amount of magic coming from the cabin.
Okay.
Well, let's get in there and get this over with.
how would you like to approach? You have 3 choices. You may approach from the roof where there are open tiles, which will lead you into the rafters. You can approach via the front door, which has lots of splinters and breaks in it. With enough jimmying, you might be able to create an opening large enough for you. Or you can attempt to try and enter through one of the various broken windows, which of course, covered in glass, comes with its own perils.
I kind of like the roof.
Anyone got anything that's kind of slippery?
We got this
Offhand.
thermos with cocoa in it.
Well, Patches.
You kind of open the thermos out of curiosity because you hadn't done that before. And as you open it, what you expected to be like warm cocoa drink and stuff like that, you actually notice is bacon grease.
What if we coat the axe handle with bacon grease? That's a really big axe.
And do what?
Make sure no one picks it up.
Oh.
Very well.
Ooh, that's smart.
Patches, do you think if I turned you invisible, do you think you could go and scout it out and apply that grease?
I'm definitely pretty stealthy.
Well, the axe is you've passed the axe to get to this point, so I mean, walking backwards. Yeah.
Okay.
Planning ahead.
Yep.
But I mean, I could definitely go scout out the house.
Okay. Do you think you need a boost, or do you think you got
No.
this?
I think save your magic. I'm pretty sneaky.
Okay, doke.
Well, while Patches prepares to infiltrate the house, Teddy, I imagine you want to grease up the axe handle. Taking Patches' thermos from him, you make your way over and begin to lather the handle of this rather immense axe. Like I said, it is pretty big, and it does require you to climb up a little bit. Does anyone want to assist Teddy in greasing the axe? Not a euphemism.
I can go with him. I can do like I did before, as uncomfortable as it is.
Very well. Pops stands underneath Teddy, accustomed to his shifting weight now. And Teddy, I need you to make me an athletics check as you grease up the axe.
That is a 21.
Damn, these are some solid rolls, guys. Like, I mean, I'm happy for it, but yeah, it's
The
great.
holiday spirit.
Holiday spirit's really with you guys. So the entire handle of this axe is now completely greased. Anyone wielding it is definitely going to be at disadvantage, and if they miss, they will drop the axe altogether. Patches in the meantime, which entrance do you wish to sort of make your way towards?
So, I do kind of like the roof angle.
All right, so you'll cool. So you'll start making your way towards the roof. Jin.
Jin is as Patches is prepping to go onto the roof. Jin's going to put a hand on Patches' shoulder and say, "May the great baker guide you with his pilot light," and cast guidance on him to help him out while he's sneaking around.
All right. Thankfully, Patches, there is actually a small, like sort of pipe gutter that leads up towards the actual gutters on the top of the roof. I'll need an athletics check from you as you attempt to climb and scale it.
All right, so athletics, I'm not fantastic at. So that's
Add a D4.
14. Yeah. So 14.
With a 14, you manage to sort of place your arms on both sides and scale very carefully up into the rafters. There you can see the various holes in the roof from the tiles, and peering down below, you see what appears to be this hulking figure moving around what looks to be a woodcarver's log cabin. You see that things are sort of like there's sort of like these wood shavings everywhere. There's these nasty, horrible tools that basically chop, grind, slice, and chip away at large pieces of wood. You see broken and disembodied parts of toys scattered around the place, and inside a hulking figure wearing what appears to be this white sort of furred coat. Its long, pointed, kind of elf-like ears sort of pierce out its side, pale blue skin, and these large, nasty-looking horns that are ribbed the entire way backwards, almost curling backwards in on itself, but so large that you notice that he instinctively ducks every now and then to dodge the wooden rafters above. He seems frustrated as he paces back and forth. He slams his hand down on the workbench and breathes a sigh. As he does so, you watch as part of the workbench frosts over from the cold of his breath. He begins to take out another chunk of wood, and using one of these vicious little devices, again just starts to shave into the wood. Pops and Teddy, you have finished greasing the axe when you return to Jin, who is standing by the pipe that Patches had gone up, waiting expectantly for Patches to return.
Can we hear that noise? Can we hear the planing?
Yes.
I wasn't certain if it was planing or just carving.
Oh,
Carving.
yeah. Carving, sorry.
So
I didn't know how big
do I have
the piece of wood
a
was.
sense of like what kind of shape he's making?
You watch for a while, and it seems like he's maybe trying to make a horse-like shape. You recognize it from the arches as he's sort of slowly trying to make it, but you can tell that he's kind of going against the grain. He's kind of making a lot of these sloppy kind of mistakes, and the horse kind of almost looks like it almost looks like the Jersey Devil, you know. It looks like it's got like this skeletal like face and these like almost like horned ears instead of like those really cute horse ones. And instinctively he's just got like these jagged bits that just lie everywhere. It'll definitely give kids splinters if he were to give this to a child.
He is far from killed.
Yeah.
It's very Halloween town.
Feeling a little called out.
Just a little.
All right, so I'll slink back off the roof and back to my companions and give them the skivvy.
All right. Sliding down the gutter is obviously very easy. It's actually kind of fun. You and appear next to Jin, Pop, and Teddy.
So there's a big blue-skinned monster with pointy ears and big horns, massive thing, and he's carving wood. Not very good.
Is that the only person in there?
That's all I saw.
So the one who threw the toy out the window.
That had to be him. Yeah.
Not very
Oh,
good
maybe
looking
he's
teddy
angry.
bears either.
Oh, I think he's angry. His breath is also really, really cold. So
Oh.
that's kind of scary.
Do you think he's angry because he's not very good at making toys?
Maybe.
They don't seem to be coming to life. Or
Not really great at reading people.
Well, Jazzy did say that we were supposed to help somebody even if they didn't help us. So maybe this is this is who we're supposed to help.
So are we supposed to help him? Not. No. I kind of pull out the needle and demonstrate a thrusting motion. I think he's a bit too big to try and stab. So.
Well, yeah, this might be a talking kind of solution rather than a stabbing kind of solution.
I can teach him how to make candy.
Patches, you could stab him in the eyes and then we could talk.
I
That
really.
might be an escalation of.
Sorry,
I
I am utterly terrified right now.
Oh yeah, you didn't even see him though. Like, wait till you see him.
I mean, I can hear him.
Okay. Well,
So,
we could always try the most upfront method and just knock
You want-
on the door.
That's a good idea. I'm going to the door.
Teddy walks over to the door. There is a mix of a knocking / squeaking sound as he as he bangs on the door.
We found a squeaker.
You hear this thunderous footstep. Snow begins to fall off the gutters as he.
I instinctively hide in my box.
The box starts to shudder and shake. The door then swings open, and inside you see this demonic-looking giant, a Frostbjorn giant with a huge, massive, square beard. Unlike a beard which, is lush and furry, like our dear friends from Nerdarchy, this one is more like icicle shards that have been grafted or shaved into the form of a beard. These two large, almost antler reindeer-like horns that protrude his head seem quite nasty, gnarled, and vicious, giving him an almost demonic kind of look. As he looks down, he stares with these vicious and cold eyes that sort of almost have this white burning light inside of them, like rime fire. Children of the Yule Father. He looks around for the Redcaps. Where are the guards? The ones I sent to claim you.
We had to get rid of them. They were naughty.
Yes. But now I have you. And with you, I can unlock the secret of the Yuletide spirit. He reaches down with these two massive hands.
I pop out with the arm.
You have an arm.
You're armed.
I rush forward and hug his leg.
He's a bit captured by it, like as he's like, okay. He picks you up.
Giant.
You and Jin are grabbed with one hand. Patches, you're grabbed with the other. Teddy, he doesn't grab you. He just sort of walks you in.
Jin, it's working.
I don't know. I'm not dead. It seems you had dropped this arm. I don't want your work to be incomplete. So
he places you onto he places you onto the workbench, and Pops, when you land on the workbench, you appear next to a one-armed doll. It looks to be like a mix between a rag doll and a porcelain doll. Its face like sort of cracked and split in half with ragdoll on one side, porcelain on the other.
Ooh, interesting.
And it's missing an arm.
So does he place down?
He places you down on the table. He then reaches down and grabs hold of Teddy and puts him on the table as well.
So I kind of look to Pops for the arm, and I pull out the sewing kit.
You're about this high on him, so this is about as much of his body as you can see from the table now that he's put you on it. He says, and they managed to get one of each of you. A bear, soft to the touch. He reaches his hand forward. Icy cold as it is, he is surprisingly gentle as he presses upon Teddy's plushy belly.
Tickle me, Teddy.
That tickles.
And of course, an edible gingerbread person.
Nice to meet you.
I will unlock the secrets, and then they will stop. He turns and he opens a drawer.
Oh, you don't have to get any. You don't have to unlock secrets. You can just ask us.
Yeah, I think we could all. Yeah, do a little Q&A right now. Yeah.
He pulls
We're an
out.
open carol book.
He pulls out what appears to be a small box. He then opens the box, and you hear this beautiful music as the music box begins to play. And inside, you can see, basically the way the music box is it's turning around, and when it turns, you see this figure of two figures ice skating next to each other. One is this rather beautiful looking, sort of blonde-haired boy. He's shirtless, wearing kind of like this white sort of toga. And next to him is a similar child, but he is bright blue and has these tiny little horns.
Aww.
And as he plays the music, he then starts to pull out these rather vicious-looking instruments. Like he pulls out like this dissection knife, this thing with 3 prongs that seems to have a drill bit in the middle. Basically, everything you can imagine about a dentist's worst nightmare, he pulls out onto the table.
Those aren't going to help you.
I must try.
Oh no! Wait a minute!
Yeah, hold on.
What are you trying to stop? Seems to me you're trying to make stuff.
But I can't.
Well, not that attitude.
Yule was never a person. It was a blessing given to 2 giants as a spirit. One to reward the good, and one to punish the wicked. The Yule spirit was given to my brother. And with that, there are songs sung of his exploits, his joy, and the laughter brought by him and others, while most talk of the fear of the harsh winter, the cold and the rush that happens. They curse my name, and I am done playing to his tunes. I will take the Yule spirit from my brother through his works, through you, and I will take what is rightfully mine.
Not going to work that way. If something is a blessing, you can't just take it.
Yeah, well, have you tried asking him if you could share?
That's a good idea.
What if you guys took turns?
Yeah, like maybe he could have you could do every other day and then alternate Sundays.
He turns for a moment. He says, I have not seen my brother in over 100 years. He is enraptured with his duty, and there is no hope. But perhaps, if what you say is true, then maybe there might be something to it. Or I could just cut you up and squeeze the magic out of you and drink that. He turns back.
Maybe there's something to it.
It's not like a juice. I have nothing. I am not swimming in anything in this box.
I'm very crumbly.
Could I get you guys to make me a convince check, if you would?
And what would okay.
You want us all to roll, or?
I suspect for me it's a straight die roll. That's an 18.
Yeah. Oh wow.
I got a 19.
14.
That's a 7.
Patches repeats that, we don't juice. Jin, you kind of talk about there being more to being good than, drinking the juices of toys. Pops explains how illogical that is, and Teddy, really reinforces the whole, passion, love, it's all within us.
And
just hugs harder.
He hugs super hard. And it actually makes it very hard because he looks at you, Teddy especially, and he says, you little flushy, plushy thing, you are not perfect. You are covered in something sticky and are worn in places. And you, little rag doll, your eyes are mismatched. Your seams are showing.
Yeah.
But
you know what? Somebody will care. Somebody likes me just the way I am.
I need answers. Very well. He grabs you up and sweeps you, placing you into his beard, which opens apart with these crystals and creates like almost like this little cabinet that then closes with the icicles as well. You can kind of see out of it, but you're trapped for the most part. He lumbers over to what appears to be this large doorway, and as he pushes through, you find this horrible sleigh. This thing looks like it is not, up to code. There are holes in it. There are these nasty-looking spikes in it, and it is attached to 12 immense warhogs that seem to be spouting fire from their nostrils. He sits aboard the top of it. It creaks and cracks under his bulk, and he whips them forward, and with this mighty squeal, these pigs just rush out into the forest.
Did he take all of us or just me?
All of you.
Okay.
As the pigs gain speed, you watch as you suddenly lift off the ground and head towards the peak of the Sugar Plum Mountain. He rises upwards and upwards, ever forward, and as he gets higher, you can see the Aurora Borealis in front of you. The sleigh lands, almost like it lands on a river of snow, the rainbow colors flying on both sides of the sleigh as the pigs trot and rampage upwards, ever upwards towards the sky. And that's when you realize that the moon that you had been looking at is not some distant star or celestial body, but a ball of wintry snow. Lights of Christmas trees glisten like jewels across this entire surface, and as the aurora leads you down and onto the snow, the pig stops in front of this large and immense workshop. Hundreds and thousands of elves that look like redcaps but cleanly shaven with nice clothes seem to be hard at work, cheering, celebrating a job well done for yet another year. The Yule feast is about to begin, and you watch as this immense sleigh, stocked with a mountain of what looks to be toys and objects, just pretty much rises in the center of this small little village. Disembarking and grabbing hold of this brown burlap sack from behind him, you watch as this giant steps out and towards the village. You hear the screaming and clattering of elves as they move forward and rush away to get away from this creature.
It's okay. It's okay. Just don't get it under his feet.
You watch as one inattentive guy, he's got like this pair of Walkmans that he'd built, but he hadn't given away. He's like wearing it, he's like... and you watch as this big heavy footstep just sort of embeds him into the snow. You sort of look behind you out of concern, you're like, oh my god! And then suddenly you watch as he pops back up, his Walkman broken, he looks at it. His lip quivers a little, and he's just a little sad. And the teddy waves out like he's just sorry. And all of a sudden, a bright light cascades from one of the major buildings. It's blinding for a moment, and especially because you guys are in this crystal kind of beard, you suddenly hear this ho 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 coming from within that bellows and reckons outwards. You then see this immense, jolly, happy man in a bright red outfit. He also appears to be a giant, and his beard, instead of being white, is aflame with fire. The fire is warm and toasty and comforting, and I really don't want to go into it too much because I am still in Australia. It is still summer and I'm sweltering, but you get the impression of this cozy thing that's happening. As he steps forward and he goes, "Ah, dear brother, have you come to celebrate the merriment of the Yule feast? I never thought I'd see the day."
Say yes.
See, I told you he really wanted to see you.
I have come, brother, with this. He opens his beard. The Yule magic that you have sustained yourself with and built your empire upon. Give it to me!
You're supposed to say share.
You
It's
said
sharing.
I would like you to shear it off your flesh.
No.
No.
No. Share.
8 times.
Yes.
At this
Stop.
point, you watch as the large man, with a big jolly smile and rosy cheeks, rubs his beard. What is there to share, brother? You and I were both granted the gifts of the Yule's spirit. But you were given the gift to bring joy. I was merely a tool to punish. Is that what you think, brother? After all these years, look at you. Never before has there been such a gentle soul. You carried these toys, these gifts that I had given to you, safely here. Could you be an agent of destruction if you could do this? 'Twas not me. Their words were soft and sweet, like this one, who is surprisingly a bear.
He's got some sugar on him.
I made these for you, dear brother, because not all things around the holidays are perfect. There are pain and there is strife. But at the end of the day, if we keep the Yule spirit in us, then magic isn't in the stuff we buy, it's in the hearts that carry the stuff. And it is still within you, brother. You watch as he takes a moment. He says, "Then I know what I need to do." He takes you all out of his beard, and he says, "You must go. While you are maybe a gift from my brother, there is happiness that you can bring to each other and another." He, at this point, breathes on you. But what you expect is to be this icy cold kind of frozen, frigid breath actually creates this perfect ice present around you. It is beautiful. He then hands you to some elves, and you are taken one by one to the sleigh. The large Yule King and the Crambolg stand next to each other and look at you. You feel this sense of fulfillment, of purpose being achieved. You're placed on the sleigh, and you feel the rush of the winter breeze as the sleigh begins to move with the two at the helm. You have a moment to share your final thoughts with one another through the clear glass separating you.
Jin, don't get eaten!
I'll start an uprising in your name. Jin's coming to terms, maybe, and maybe seeing if she can try to really hoping that she ends up in a crafty house where they're gonna seal the gingerbread cookies into ornaments.
Patches?
I'll take the. Is this like completely solid, or are there like bars and stuff?
It's like a solid sheet.
Okay, all right. Well, then never mind. Well, it was really fun and exciting to have our own little adventure, but I think it's gonna be more exciting to see whatever the next adventure is.
I'm
Pops?
really happy for all of you.
Is it completely sealed?
Well, I mean,
lift the lid
yeah,
off?
yeah. It's got like kind of like a square lid, like like those cardboard ones that have like it's not really tied. As you could probably like lift the lid and move it off.
Okay. I want to give that a shot.
You kind of stretch upwards. You sort of slide the lid off a little bit. Yeah, it works.
I try to get the crab bowl his attention.
He turns.
Wait, Mr. Giant. What about your present?
Dear young wizard, the present you gave me was to repair the relationship between me and my estranged brother. I had been wallowing in my own insecurities and my own inadequacies for so long that you melted this ice giant's heart with your sweet words, your cookie breath, and your dedication to bring joy to this old man.
I realize that Jin might be eaten, and I don't want that to happen. Do I have like spare coil in my box?
You do not.
I do not.
It's okay. This was meant to be.
Oh, okay.
She's at peace.
The giant puts the lid back on Pops's thing.
Wait, no, okay.
Teddy?
Oh, I said my piece. I don't want Jin to get eaten.
What you're getting? Throughout this whole adventure, by the way, I've actually struggled to keep calling David Ted, just because it's been a struggle. I'm glad I haven't stuffed that up yet. All right.
You haven't.
So, the first of the so basically you watch as the presents are delivered all around the world. There is magic as the presents are basically just sent through this comet of magic through the chimneys of various houses and into different places. You watch as all these toys are scattered around the world until just the four of you remain. The first house that you arrive at is a small house in a halfling farm. You see Pops begin to float up into the air and whiz off into this small
I
opening.
wish you all well.
Have fun.
Have wonderful adventures.
Teddy, you find yourself at the edge of a swamp. There is kind of like this kind of like I suppose like kind of mud people sort of hut, a hatch sort of as it is. You see that there's a dog door, and Teddy sort of gets slammed into the dog door, which startles this rather nasty-looking reptilian pit bull, and you sort of slide across the room. It sort of starts to bark. It does not sound healthy. Patches, you find yourself in actually a very well-to-do village, almost like a metropolis, with various apartment buildings. And up on one of the upper decks of one of them, you fly and land on the windowsill, not in the building, but just like on the balcony. And Jin, there is a small little building. It looks like an orphanage of some kind, and your box slides nestled beneath the bed of one of these small children. In the morning, Pops, a small child, awakens as you hide in your box. He sees the icicle present, and you hear someone say, that's rather strange. The Yule King must have come and given you a present. Here, why don't you open this, son? I don't know. It's cold. I might catch a fever. Go on anyway. I'm sure you'll be fine. He reaches out and he opens the box. He says, "Why is there a box in the box? That doesn't make much sense.
I'm closed.
I mean, wouldn't this box have sufficed for the wrapping? If just open the box, dear." She grabs hold of the box, and he and then Phil pops up. And then all of a sudden he pops up. The child goes, "Ah!" And he hides behind the couch as he scrambles away, startled. He then stops for a moment. He peers out and looks through these very thick glasses that you can now see. And he sees you sort of bobbing back and forth. The look of fear slowly turns into a look of, like, wonderment as he more curiously but cautiously starts to approach the box. as you help this child slowly overcome his fears, he places you back in the box and tries again.
Oh, here we go.
Meanwhile, in the swamps, you hear the voice, Teddy, of these parents trying to explain to a small child why they didn't have enough money for presents. And this child sort of saying, "Oh, it's all right, Ma and Dad. I don't need anything for Christmas this year. It'll be fine, I guess. I know I was sad yesterday because the boys and girls came in with those candy popcorns, but it's okay. I know we can't afford such sweets and treats and stuff, but it's fine. I love you all anyway. Merry Yule feast." And as the family comes into the next room, they see Teddy in the ice blocks. They look at each other in surprise, and the child says, I thought you said you didn't get me anything." And this rather kind of messy-looking child with like brown hair and a missing tooth, freckles over his cheek, and like these overalls, rush over and opens the box, and he looks at you, and it's like, and he feels like how sticky your fur is, and he smells you, and you just watch him beam. He reaches down, he gives you a big hug, and it's like the stickiest, sort of sweetest thing you've ever seen. He then sort of looks, he feels, and he sees on your back, there's like all this like candied popcorn and bonbons and lollies just stuck to your back. He says, "Oh my God, thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you, Yule King." He then takes one of the bonbons and puts it in your mouth, and he puts one in his. And he just sort of smiles and just sort of hugs you underneath this kind of like very large looking kind of fern. In the city, you watch as this young child sort of swings open the door. You hear on the inside two parents kind of in a heated argument over the recipes for last night's dinner. They seem to be talking like culinary experts, like, no, I'm telling you for once, you should not just slap sriracha on everything. It's absolutely rubbish. Don't tell me what to do, dear. I told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. Christmas season is the time for heat, not for cold. You can't just slap peppermint on everything. Don't you tell me I can't slap peppermint. Oh, look at me, I'm Captain Peppermint. And they keep arguing with one another. You see this little girl sort of go out into the balcony to kind of get some fresh air, and she sort of sees Patches, and as she sees you, she sort of holds you for a moment, and notices that you have a knapsack with you with a sewing kit in it. She looks at it, and she looks at you with a smile and takes you indoors, and she begins to sort of look at you and begins to make that rags that sort of cover your body. She sort of starts to fashion attire and clothes. Her hands move swiftly and quietly. And eventually the parents stop arguing, and the mother comes in to check on the daughter. And she looks at you, and you are now in this like rather beautiful looking, like very fashionable robe. And her mother leans down and says, "My dear, I didn't know you had such talent. This is rather phenomenal. Did you do this yourself, or did this come like this?" She's now like brimming that she has something to share with her mother, that there is this approval, this sense of like, having been validated. Meanwhile, across the town, the orphanage bell rings and people rush out. You see feet landing next to you as a small girl sort of disembarks from the bed. She sort of leans down and stretches to touch her toes, and as she does, she notices the glistening box underneath. And she reaches down and pulls the box outwards. She looks at you and she looks around. There are no other kids. She opens the box and she picks up the gingerbread person. She smells it, sweet smell. She opens her mouth. A moment later, her eyes open. And Jin, your eyes open. You look down at your hands, and you see, and you feel, and you taste something. You taste gingerbread in your mouth, Jin. Your spirit has become one with this young person, and as a reward for being the edible toy, you get to live the rest of your life with this child, to see them grow, to see them become the person that they will be. And never will they lose that spirit that is now within them and within you. And that brings us to the end of the Great Toy Caper, our Christmas adventure with full of emotions at the end, because I like
was so wholesome.
And of course, to end with this, before we play out our we'll do our advertising for ourselves, because of course everyone here is in the arts. Everyone here loves you guys during this festive season and has given up their time to come and play with us, play with you. So let's hear from everyone. Let's of course start with good old Pops. Phil, tell us about yourself. Tell us where we can find you, and what we can hire you to do.
You can hire me to sing a lot of things. I can do that. I live in the Minneapolis area, so if you ever need a man voice of some sort, then I can do that. I work with Minnesota Opera and now with Theater Lottie Da, and I can't wait to get started on those. So come see us whenever you're in Minneapolis. Otherwise, you can look me up on Facebook, Phil Takamura Sears. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, and of course, Ange, I see. Like there's a lot of stuff going on here.
So I'm a director at nerdsmith.org. We make a lot of cool shows, a lot of active plays and things like that. And I'm also a co-showrunner at Packless Patrons, which is a Kickstarted animated series that follows Warlock patrons who join a support group because they haven't found Warlocks yet. And so it's again very, very silly but very wholesome, weirdly. And you can find out all that stuff on my Twitter at darling_gypsum, or at packlesspatrons.com. You can find all that stuff. Just Googling it and you'll find it. So yeah, I'm super excited about a bunch of projects this year.
Fantastic. And of course, because I feel like we can conjoin this as well, Ted and Dave, my excellent friends, tell us all about yourselves and where we can find you.
Sure. We're from Nerdarchy, for Nerds, by Nerds, and we like to make D&D videos. Sometimes we do Kickstarters and make D&D products. Just Google Nerdarchy and we will show up. We're on the YouTubes, the website, Facebook, the Twitters, all the places.
Absolutely. And I'm going to do a little bit of an extra plug here. I kickstarted their Out of the Box Kickstarter, which was a fantastic Kickstarter with a whole bunch of encounters. Lots of great stuff kept within those awesome, cool pages. And of course, there is also a big event happening in 2020, which of course is the con that you guys are running, which
yes.
You want to give us a bit of detail on that?
The convention. Nerdarchy the convention is happening Halloween weekend 2020. And also the pledge manager is still open for late pledges if people want to get involved with that. Right now we are selling badges through the pledge manager, but soon they'll be going live to the public. I don't know when this is going up, but
It'll go up around Christmas time. But yes, no, absolutely. So if you are keen on that and stuff like that, do get your tickets. Sadly, I won't be there because I am still in Australia, hence the sweltering sweat that is now dripping off me.
You haven't really coming out to see us.
Yeah, well, I will come out to see you guys one day. I will come out one day. It's like a 30-hour flight, dude. Like, I will.
A couple
Take a nap.
Where's the con gonna be?
Oh, just north of Philadelphia, Oaks, PA, and we've got like pretty much all of your favorite YouTubers will be there hanging out.
Yeah, no, a huge star-studded cast is going to be there, which is going to be fantastic. I highly recommend, if you do have the pleasure of going or being able to go, then absolutely go to this thing. And of course, for me, I am the Dead Aussie Gamer. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube and pretty much everywhere you can type Dead Aussie Gamer. I do advice videos, I do live plays, I also play on various channels such as Dungeons and Dragons and How to Be a Great GM, both of which are fantastic places. Oh, and Nerdsmith. Hopefully in 2020 we will be getting together a project for that as well. And of course, a huge and a massive thank you to our patron of this particular show, World Anvil. Light the forges as you go and explore one of the any award-winning RPG support material. You can chronicle your exploits through a program called Heroes that allow you to like basically do a Facebook for your characters, as well as to keep track of your worlds as you design them and create them. And it is dirt cheap. So definitely give World Anvil a look. Share them some love. Tell them obviously that the Dead Aussie Gamer sent you, because that means that yay, I sent you. And of course, if you ever get the chance to as well, they also attend a whole bunch of conventions, so do say hi to them in and around the place as well. Now, of course, I would be so remiss if I didn't end this Christmas episode on a poem. So I've got one more for you guys. And thus ends our tale, fans of Dungeons and Dragons. I ask now a toast to raise up our flagons. From all of the players, both naughty and nice, we thank our game masters and lay curse on their dice. For the game masters with players without any reason, safe journey, dear friends, for the holiday seasons. And with all the spare time the holiday supplying, from the Dead Aussie Gamer, game hard or die trying. Bye, guys!
Cheers!